What is up, Rotogrinders? 5 o'clock on the dot, East Coast, 2 o'clock West Coast. GrindersLive starting now, taking you guys all the way up to lock. The appetizer crew, it's myself and Kid Yahoo, Kirk Dees, who smashed the under pre-show on mentioning 5 o'clock. 5:01 was the over-under when he would mention the Boston-Miami Heat series. Not surprisingly, after his Celtics beat my Heat, that was one of the first things he pointed out to me. Kirk Dees, you know it's a seven-game series, correct? Have I missed something?
I didn't claim victory or anything. I said we can talk. Let's talk. I just want to change subject. I said we could talk about the Heat Celtics.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you got Horford back. You got Smart back.
I got three more green Dean face tweets to send out.
You have a repertoire? Because is there more than just that one picture that exists that you?
That's the only one I took the screenshot of.
You have to go back and watch.
I'd have to go and look the date of the photo and then find that show. And then, I mean, you could probably do that, but.
It was a rough night. You know, DFS, Daily Fantasy Sports, care about today and today only. But like just from a sports fan perspective, it was a rough night for your boy because, you know, my Heat and my Panthers was even a tougher L. There's really no such thing as a walk-off, like, you know, in hockey. They basically got walked off, though, with Tampa scoring essentially at the buzzer in the third to break the tie. So, yeah, man, it was from sports fandom perspective, one of the worst. Well, at least we're in the contest. We're battling. There's other teams that just don't even exist. They didn't win the lottery. They have nothing going on. But yeah, it was there's plenty
of people who'd like to be in your shoes at this point, you know?
Yeah, you want to at least be in the dance and whatever. If they lose, so be it.
A lot of people don't understand that. They don't. I mean, I take it for granted a lot, you know, being out in Boston here with all of it. You know, it feels like I always got something, whether it's the Red Sox, the Patriots, or the Celtics. So, you know, and then there's a lot of other people out there that haven't. You know, I feel bad for all the Yankee fans personally, not this season, but, you know, just having to take the exit last season by the Red Sox in the wild card game must have hurt.
That felt disingenuous. I did not believe any second of what you just said. Keith also here with us. Keith, we're talking pre-show. Do you happen to have a free article for the people today on Scores and Odds?
I do. I have an article with some pitcher props, some strikeout props for you guys posted over there. Scores and Odds. Check out the news section.
I'm pulling it up right now. I'm going to see if I can drop it in chat for the people. Has any of it expired? Awesome. Of course, we lost 2 games. Both New York teams. Colorado core is no longer existing. It went from like 85 degrees to snowing in a matter of 24 hours. Just pretty wild. Yeah. Is anything expire, or it's all still good? It's all good stuff. It's fresh, and we can still hammer some of these bets.
Yeah, it's still good. Lines might have moved a little bit, but definitely everybody is still playing as far as I know. So definitely still relevant.
Did you get any of the early win game today with the Cubs in Arizona? Josh Rojas has 3 homers. The Diamondbacks have 6 homers in total. 4 homers for the Cubs. They're still in the 8th. It's 9-5. And I was mentioning that because we are giving away, speaking of free stuff, Ross Weather Edge tool is free, and I'll drop that in chat for the people as well. Or maybe producer Steve, feel free, please, if you don't mind. Drop the Weather Edge tool for the people. And it's a small sample, right, Keith? But I don't know if you looked at it earlier today. It was 4 games. We know that the weather is going to be goofy, but the home run percentage upgrade in the 4 games previous to today's outcome was 173%. And I think that's proven true, even more beyond that with the amount of homers hit today in Wrigley. So there you go. Small samples or not. How about that? Ross Tool, shout out.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a wild game. I'm a Cubs fan, so I was watching that one. I didn't put a wager in just because I didn't trust either of the offenses. But it turns out when the wind's blowing out at Wrigley, you don't have to be great on offense to hit it out of that park.
Yeah, two rough offenses and two kind of rough pitchers as well too. And I guess I haven't been watching it, to be honest, but I haven't seen like, the Twitter account that says, lucky hit, home run. That always happens these times. But yeah. All right. Did you get a piece of that there, Curtis? Have you overcome your loss for the Yankees? I know you're really feeling sympathetic over there.
Yeah, I just noticed a fire emoji on the weather. The flame. The flame is back today.
Yeah, it's back in Baltimore.
And in Cleveland.
Oh, yeah, and in Cleveland, which is interesting because, people are going to be rostering themselves a cheap Cleveland pitcher, I think.
It's about to get extremely hot here in Boston. That'll be tomorrow and Sunday. There's a heat wave warning.
What's it right now in Boston? Because I kind of like
– just a nice day. It's
67. Wind blowing towards the monster, though, 10 miles per hour, 95 game sample. And again, you guys can use this for free. Ross Weather Tool. We're sharing it with the people. If you're not premium members, have at it. It's a part of the premium package. I think you can get it a la carte if you want to, but just get everything. 95 game sample, Kirk D's, 12% homer upgrade, 11% homer run upgrade. And that's one of my. Well, we'll talk about this Slate, but what's your thoughts on that?
Well, we got are you talking about Boston?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got the play of the day is the lock of all locks batting leadoff on the slate today. I got the go ahead from Chop, the BVP play of the day here.
We're doing this already?
Yeah. Kike Hernandez.
Okay, what is it?
Let me pull it up here. Oh, we got a nice sample. He said, "Wait till you see the sample," and he went, "Mwah." He went like that.
He did the kiss, the chef's kiss.
Yeah, the chef's kiss. 46 at bats.
Okay, all right.
Five homers. So
that you trailed off. Nothing else happened.
Yeah, I don't want because it's not going to make my point much stronger.
Keith, you're not Keith? You're not Team BBP, are you? I mean, feel free to say if you are, but
no, I am not. Just never enough sample size for me.
Yeah, are you like Cardi, where you need like 10,000 at bats to know if somebody's good or not?
No, definitely not that extreme. I'm willing to like when we see changes in pitchers' velocity and mix and things like that. I'm willing to jump on it sooner. But I just think at bats against certain pitchers, it's random, and you need a little bit more than 10 or 15 at bats to figure out truly how that goes.
All right, I did pull it up on the fly. That's actually free too on the site. That's always free. It's not a premium. Surprisingly, the BVP content is not premium. Kirk D's, I'm sure.
Look, in like 2014, people would pay for that. In
2014, I was maybe. There was a time, maybe 2012, 2013, when I would absolutely look at it and just be like the same sort of thing. It's like, oh man, this guy's got 4 hits and 8 at bats.
Who was that Seattle pitcher who used to? He was like a bullpen guy who was doing GrindersLive shows on Friday.
Okay, so you're thinking of Zach Miner, who I believe.
He loved BVP. He loved it.
It was cool. Yeah. It was good talking to him because he would give like good pitching perspectives, and he would talk about like things that we don't think about as far as just certain mounds. Like, all the mounds are different, and some mounds you just don't like for whatever reason on the road. You're used to your home mound, obviously, but things that we wouldn't think about. And like he would say, yeah, I didn't like that mound, but maybe somebody else does. But I hope he's doing well, Zach Miner. That was fun. He would sometimes he would check in from like a bar.
Yeah, no, he was always drinking beer, I remember. And those were the days, actually.
Yeah, let us know in chat if you guys remember the Zach Miner days, because that's got to be at least 5, 6, 7 years ago. It feels like it's been a while. All right, let's give just for funsies. I'll drop this in chat too, because why not? Let's give it to the people. Hey, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications, all that good stuff. We do appreciate that. But Kike has not been good this year. Do you care about that, Kirkwood, as far as the BBP? Does that factor in or no?
BVP trumps all. I don't, this is watch. This is locked and loaded, ready to go.
So like our Pujols BVP, you would trust that right now in 2022?
Absolutely. He just hit one out, banged one out the other day, actually.
I know he pitched and gave up a couple homers. I remember seeing that.
No, I think he hit one too.
He might have. I mean, I suppose it's possible. He carries a big piece of wood, and I'm sure it's happened, and good for him. But he's kind of a different player now than he used to be, no?
I mean, you think Kiki's washed because he's having a rough little start here? I don't think so.
Well, I don't know. I'm just.
I mean, same people who were saying that Trevor Story is washed until yesterday.
Well, now he's just got like inflated stats based upon one game. And wasn't there weather yesterday in Fenway too?
There was wind a little bit. So the wind here has been kind of crazy. Like you go outside, it almost blew Phil, my dog, over the other day.
Oh no.
No, it's nothing serious, but like you can feel it. But and it's been humid. I think I chimed in there when you guys were talking about Boston weather. You're like, what's it? I just wrote it's humid, and then the humidity helps. And especially actually when you get the wind humid, my dew point model really loves it. It's looking forward to tomorrow and Sunday. I already checked it and it's through the roof. So make sure you stack that game tomorrow and Sunday.
I don't know if producer Devin is lurking. Producer Steve's working the show. Devin a lot of times is watching as well. If he's around, he gave a recommendation to watch an old school show called Fishing with John, and apparently Monster in chat took him up on it and said it was dreadful and it was terrible. So he's coming at D-Train and saying that was a terrible recommendation. I've never seen it, so I have no take on it.
It's probably better than his food recommendations too, I would imagine.
How about his fruit recommendations?
No, here is my point, Dean. Why are you in charge? You the head fruit ranker here. Shouldn't it go to like a Devo? Don't you think it makes a little bit more? Like I was like, how is Dean the authority on ranking fruits? And what are you going to do?
I didn't make myself the authority on it.
You're going to do vegetables next too?
Vegetables, like all the power rankings of vegetables are like 999. What's the best vegetable? Carrot? I think it's carrot. Maybe broccoli.
Cucumbers are great. I love zucchini. It all depends. My number one is mushrooms.
Oh, well, yeah.
Cooked.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I don't know what you're doing with mushrooms otherwise. I don't want to get.
Well, you can have them raw in a salad.
You could also do other things, my understanding. Keith, do you have a hot take as far as vegetables? Is there something we're leaving out here?
No, I think you hit all the main ones. Those are the ones I would have thrown out. I don't like the green ones as much. Broccoli is okay, but like the peas, the green beans, I'm not a fan of that. So I'd stick with the mushrooms and the carrots would be my two go-tos.
Kirkwood, I think what you're saying is that, you tell me otherwise, Devin's a vegetarian. So is that why you're saying he should have been the authority on such things?
Correct. You can take it other ways too, but that's the number one reason.
You can throw it however you want to throw it. Just own it. But yeah, I mean, I didn't deem myself the authority on it. I just gave my, that's how Twitter is. People don't ask, you just got to give your opinion and then you sort of throw it against the wall and see what happens.
I gotta give you credit. I mean, it really went off. Who started it? Didn't Andy start it? Dirty Rush.
Yeah, somebody started it.
So you piggybacked off of that, and then yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I saw an opportunity. I'm like, well, wait a second. I disagree with somebody else's list, and I love when people disagree with lists because it's like, here's 8 things. One of these things is incorrect, so this is a terrible list. Everything else is fine, but let's focus on the one thing that you got wrong. Based on my opinion. It's just, that's just how lists go.
DC with the grape color,
which is a terrible take, by the way. Yeah,
I don't really. I kind of like all grapes. I don't really. I like them all. I like them all. I mean, the best is like a really if you go to like farmers markets in the summertime, you get like real like Concord grapes or something like that. Those are like bananas. I've had like some grapes that will blow your mind, like that they're just like so sweet. I'm not kidding, like incredible. They taste like candy, but it's like really rare and expensive to find those. It's
the like cotton candy ones you're talking about, right?
Well, kind of depends. There's many kinds.
We've derailed the baseball show. Trust me, we're here for the next 2 hours. We'll knock out all the baseball. We've even lost 2 games. We're down to 10 because there's no New York teams playing baseball. I promise y'all in chat, no reason to get impatient as far as baseball talk. We're going to get to it in a second, but did want to say I made an emergency poll. And Keith, you tell me. No pressure. Do you prefer the green or the red when it comes to grapes?
I'm kind of indifferent. Like grapes are just okay for me. Like I love fruit, but I don't think grapes would make the top 10.
Okay, so, fair enough.
I mean, if I had to choose one, I'd go green.
Grapes are great. Frozen grapes are like insanely good too. Like people don't put them in the freezer enough. In the summertime.
Wait a second. Oh, wait. You go buy them frozen. You're saying you buy them?
No. You buy grapes and just put them in the freezer, and they're so good. And like I learned this. So like back in when I used to go to Vegas, Caesar's Palace used to have these girls that walked around with frozen grapes, and they would feed you. They would
Okay. That usually leads to something else, right? Is there some?
No, it didn't. No, it was just part of their shtick, you know.
There's no.
Although they did have a little topless section, which was always nice. You know.
So I did send out an emergency poll, and the people spoke, despite the fact DC said I got it wrong, and several people, yeah, you're wrong. Well, look, we sent it over to the people. Also, green are cheap, more expensive. There's a reason why, right? Supply and demand. Green is more expensive than red. 46% of the people said green currently, according to the poll. 34% red, 10% like Keith, no difference, whatever, it's all the same. And then 10% just wanted to see the results. There you go. Pineapple, by the way, was number one, in case anybody was curious. Pineapple, nectarine, peach, orange, green grapes, plums, bananas, which, whatever. You want to take umbrage, by all means, make your own list. What was your number one, Keith?
So you left out a lot of berries. I'm a huge berries fan. Blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, all missing from your list. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I screwed up. I meant to put strawberries in there. That's amongst the berry power rankings. Strawberries number one, and that should have been. That's my bad. That's on me. You're right. Good call. All right. As far as the slate tonight, the tricky thing on this slate, Keith, and tell me if I'm wrong. There's nothing to love. There's no pitchers to love. There's no hitters to love. There's no stacks to love. Like if you're going to give like a 1 to 10, how do you feel about this player? Like this pitcher, nobody's a 10. 1 to 10, how do you feel about this stack? No stack is a 10. Of course, there are different routes to go, and you can pit ownership against each other. It's 10-game slate, so ownership's going to be pretty spread out as is. And, you know, obviously losing the Coors game is a big deal. Using the Yankees is a big deal. So a lot of ownership to go around. Biggest team total that I'm seeing on my quick little scroll is it Tampa at 4.73, Toronto 4.82 against Luis Castillo. Once a really good arm, not spectacular so far coming back from injury. Is that our biggest total on the board as far as the teams? That's what I'm seeing. I'm doing Astros are right there at 4.81. But Keith, you sort of feel the same way. We're going to run it down, pitcher, all the pitchers, all our favorite players, each position and all that. But I don't think there's anything great. And a lot of times like, oh, I hate all the pitchers. Well, you must love the hitting. Not really. Don't love the hitting either. It's just all sort of in the middle. Do you feel differently?
I do not feel differently. That's exactly how I feel about this slate. Like there's some talented pitchers, but they all are a little bit overpriced. They have tougher matchups. Like you've got Lauer, who's I've been a big fan of this year. His strikeouts are way up, but he's facing Washington, who doesn't strike out that much. Robbie Ray seems to have turned it around a little bit. The strikeout stuff has come back, but he's in Boston. It's just all kind of middle of the road. And like even the talented pitchers, they're just a little bit too pricey. Ray would be the one guy I would say is underpriced on DraftKings, but that matchup is not ideal. Then you've got the offense on the other side. I was loving Houston earlier today. No Yordan Alvarez in the lineup. And the rest, it's just like when you don't want to pick on a Lauer or a Mania. So the stacks aren't that great either. Down at the bottom, the worst pitchers are kind of facing weak offenses. I think Milwaukee maybe against Fedde, but even Fedde is kind of an okay pitcher. It's all middle of the road, just kind of meh.
Yeah. How about yourself, Kirkies? Do you basically agree with that sentiment? Is there a pitcher you absolutely love that we're ignoring? Is there a stack you think like is this going to go off tonight? We're missing something, or it's the same basic thought process on your end?
I think this slate is absolutely bananas. I think it's all pretty.
It's not strawberries.
I thank you for noticing that. But anyway, which was probably underrated in your polls, banana. Although it's not exciting, but it's like more of a filling fruit, like a meal almost.
It only has so much of a ceiling, but the floor is good. Is good too. Good floor to ceiling.
Healthy potassium is good for you. It's good for the blood. I have high blood pressure, so it's good for my blood pressure. Anyways, so we've got a bunch of pretty decent pitchers, like Keith said, some that have like really good ceilings but are also not in the best matchups, and also not the most consistent. And right, like a lot of these guys have a lot of flaws. Like a lot of these guys have command issues, right? But if they're working, they can certainly mow down a bunch of batters and be good. Eric Lauer has been freaking incredible this season.
He's been awesome.
Someone's got to test him for something. I don't know what, but the dude's now he's pushing 35%. Maybe he's back.
Eating those frozen grapes, I think.
Yeah, something. But I mean, the swinging strike rate is there. Everything correlates great. So like it all looks extremely real. Except he did come back down to earth a little bit in his last start with the home run ball. But I mean, he's throwing heat now. He's got a good mix. So there's a lot of pitchers I like, and there's no like offense that really jumps off the page. I mean, I do think that like Seattle's in a good spot because as a Boston guy, I think Michael Wacha is just not very good. But like, other than that, it's like a bunch of guys that I think are kind of underrated, or at least not going to give up a lot of runs. Maybe. I mean, I stack religion. I've been doing this for the last 3 years, and I've yet to win a slate. I always stack against Martin Perez, and it just does not work. It does not work. So
definition of insanity, Kirk.
I will not give up. I will keep doing. I will be there for that day that it works out, and maybe that's tonight. But and then there's like Tyler Wells. I think, first of all, it's Detroit. How confident can you feel in Detroit? Second of all, I think he's kind of underrated. I don't think he's the worst of these like of these Oriole guys. Then we've got like Ryu, who's not someone that you usually attack. Does blow up from time to time, but good ground ball guy. Maybe it's Houston against Fetty, but other than that, I don't really see that much. It's just like, this is like a wide open max entry slate. Like these single, like if there's something, if you do not play like these optimizer, like optimal lineups tonight in these single entry contests, because there's going to be offenses that are project nearly just as well that are going to be so much lower owned that, just take some chances.
On that thought, like, I don't know what we're going to get as far as chalk and 10-game slate. Things can only get so chalky, but some nights the chalk is really good. And tonight, I agree with you. Whatever the chalk is, Turkeys, I don't know what it is, but we'll figure it out. We'll look at the ownership stuff in a second. But whatever it is, it's almost definitely bad chalk is kind of what you're saying. That's what I'm hearing, and I believe the same thing.
Well, like I'm just saying, like, so like a lot of people just play what these optimizers spits out, right? And so it always inflates whatever the ownership is at the top. Like, just get rid of that. And because your lineups are just as good tonight, like below that point, and you're going to get there's going to be such an edge on ownership. It may not work. You might lose. I mean, that's baseball, right? Like there's so much variance. I mean, you go through tons of downswings and upswings, but man, there's like you're saying, like there shouldn't be any chalk tonight, really. Maybe Houston is the one team that I think that might deserve it.
And it's funny because you mentioned Seattle, and I think in the 121 on DK, the single entry stuff, like the supposed chalk, the supposed best stuff gets squeezed to the top, and you get whatever the ownership is, it's even higher. I like Seattle on DK. Like, those prices are really good, and if that's somehow different, Walker's one of the worst pitchers in the slate, one of the best hitting environments in the slate. But you mentioned Martin Perez and stacking against him, and historically, it's so rough. He's like a magician out there, man. His home run the fly ball rate this year, Kirk Dees, you know what it is, right?
I mean, I could look.
It's 0. He's giving
zero.
up none.
Boom, right there. Yeah.
He's giving up none.
It's insane.
Like, in theory, yeah, eventually he's going to break. We'll see. The lineup there on the other side, Houston is a little bit weak in the absence of Jordan Alvarez, but yeah, we'll talk about the pitchers specifically. I want to get to. Hey, actually, I pull up your article, Keith. I dropped it in the chat, or I'm going to drop it right now. I don't want to give him every single thing in the article, right? I mean, it's a free article, so that, whatever, we can talk about it. But we're talking about the pitchers. You have a Charlie Morton take. I'll just say that, which happens earlier today, and it's not on this slate. But I'm curious in your thoughts on Robbie Ray. You mentioned how he was cheap on DK. Robbie Ray, former Cy Young winner, or was he second in the Cy Young? Whatever. He
won it.
He won it. All right. And I think rightfully so, right? Got paid out there in Seattle this year. Velocity's down. The strikeouts are down. A lot of righties facing him there in Boston tonight. He's an interesting take. And remember the old cheese rule, like whenever Robbie Ray is low owned, you're supposed to play him. I don't know how owned he's going to be. I'm curious what people are going to do with that, but I'm certainly going to at least fire a little bit in tournaments. What are your thoughts as far as Robbie Ray?
Yeah, so I wrote up his strikeouts. I like his strikeouts today better than I like him for DFS, I think. I'm still going to play him in DFS. Earlier in the day, he was projecting to be pretty low owned. He's kind of gained steamed, it seems like, throughout the day. We've currently got him, I don't know when I refreshed last, but currently looking at 26%. So somewhere around that range. Third highest owned pitcher on the slate. I don't like it as much as I did earlier today, but I do like the strikeouts. And you touched on the velocity. he was down around 92 miles an hour in his first couple of starts of the season. That velocity has come back over his last two. He had double-digit strikeouts 2 starts ago, and I believe he had 9 in his last one. So the velocity is back, and it seems like the strikeout stuff has come back with it. So I do like Robbie Ray to get over 6.5 strikeouts today, but I do think he probably gives up a couple of home runs as well, which kind of just makes him mad for DFS. That DraftKings price tag is really attractive, and I'm still going to play him, but I mean, I don't necessarily think he's going to go throw 7 shutout innings with 10 strikeouts. I think the strikeouts will be there. Like I said, I like him over 6.5, but I am a little bit concerned about the run prevention, home runs in particular.
Pretty contact heavy lineup too, as far as the Boston side, just 20.9% collectively. The only guy in the red, if you're looking at play IQ as far as striking out versus lefties, is Bobby Dahlbeck. Everybody else, you got Story at 22 and Arroyo at 21, but otherwise pretty contact heavy lineup. What are you doing here with Ray, Kirk Dees? Because, it wouldn't shock me if he was the highest scoring pitcher on the slate, and it wouldn't shock me if he went 2 innings, gave up 4 homers.
All right. So what's Robbie Ray when it all comes, we boil all down all the stats, right? He's a strikeout guy facing a Red Sox lineup that doesn't strike out that much. He's a fly ball hitter, right? I mean, fly ball pitcher facing a team in Fenway Park that, sets up very well against lefties. So I'm out on when he's chalky. If he wasn't chalky tonight, I'd be in on him and just go for the strikeouts and ceiling game. But like like I said, I mean, I'm just playing Kiki in every lineup, so it's I can't play Ray tonight.
Because Chop told you to play Kiki, and that's
correct,
that's
man. And the guy nails it. But no, in all seriousness, I mean, the weather's heating up. The Red Sox are starting to hit now. Like they're like, their bats are heating up. I don't think this is a good spot for Robbie Ray tonight.
Yeah, the other thing is, we are currently projecting Ray, like you said, 26% on DK, less on Fanduel, obviously, 12% on Fanduel, a little bit more expensive. You only roster 1. Fanduel, like no clear winner. Well, we have Manaya at 21%, which, I mean, good ballpark, but I don't really like picking on Sam Fran. We'll talk about him in a second. Christian Javier, they just never really extend him, and I don't like his chances of getting that quality start on Fanduel. Doesn't mean he can't be fine in 5 if he gets to 5, and that sometimes is you're begging for 5 innings. Lauer, we touched on him. We can touch on him some more. Just feels like this is a guy I feel like we used to pick on, and now he's like 10.4K on Fanduel, justifiably so, because he's been eating those grapes, and that K rate and the velocity has been up this year. But Kirk Dees, the interesting thing is that if you're going to trust our ownership, we're going to be playing Chase Silseth and Aaron Savali. I know Aaron Savali's been super unlucky. We can talk about that. Silseth, like not a big prospect in the Angels organization, depending on where you're looking, like around 10 to 15 to 20.
He's the 12th ranked. He's the 12th ranked Angels prospect.
Yeah. I mean, he's not this uber prospect or anything like that. The key to him is he's facing Oakland.
He throws 99 miles per hour. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, but I'm saying, does that jump him up the process? Is that baked in, or do we need to update the prospects here as far as the Angels?
I mean, I think they've got a pretty good. I think number 12 is pretty good. I think he's pretty good. I think he looks legit as can be. He's got everything. The only thing he needs to work on is his slider, but he was throwing 99. It came down a little as he goes, but he's got like a split change that is pretty nasty. He looked the real deal. It was against Oakland, and it's against Oakland again. It's a good matchup for him. So obviously he skipped AAA, but and that's, you never quite know it, but there's a reason they pulled him up, and all of his strikeout stuff in the AA was really good. So I'm on board with Silseth. I mean, he's cheap, and it's a good matchup. So I'm in on him tonight.
Yeah. 7-8 on DK. It's not like dirt cheap. And we have Savali. It was, I think, 2K cheaper. We'll talk about him. But, yeah, what do you think, Keith, as far as Silseth? I imagine, like, all you guys are I just learned of this guy's existence like a week or 2 ago. Basically, I wasn't aware of him. And he's facing Oakland. He's throwing baseballs, and that's a plus.
Yeah, 37 professional innings is all that he has. He was drafted last year. Like a couple AA starts, completely skipped AAA, and came up to the big leagues and made a start against this exact same team. There's not a huge effect when facing the same team back to back, but it is worth noting. K rate in particular is something that comes down. So I'd be concerned about the strikeouts and the upside in this matchup. Obviously, it's Oakland and they're terrible. But facing them for the second time in a row, just being a really young, inexperienced pitcher, I'm concerned about the leash. I'm concerned about the strikeout upside. He's fine. He's just another one of these guys that's like just middle of the road. Sure, play him, but I'm not in love with him today.
You're making your 20 lineups as usual. Is that what you're doing today?
Yep.
21% current ownership. You think you'd be above that or below that for Silseth? It sounds like you'll be below it.
I will be slightly below that. I'm concerned about the upside. 80 pitches in his last outing, and I'm not sure that he has many more than that in the tank. Like 22 years old, they're not going to extend him to 90, 95 pitches, I don't think. So you're probably looking at 80 pitches and roughly 5 innings.
Yeah, and certainly he can survive, and the matchup's pretty good, obviously, against Oakland. Very good against Oakland. Well, let's talk about Savali, because he's been horrific this year when you look at ERA, but you can forgive it to some degree if you're talking about Sierra and how unlucky he's been. His left on base percentage, Keith, this year, it's what, 44%, I believe. I was looking at it before the show. Yeah, 44% left on base percentage is, certainly pretty silly. The batting average on balls in play, almost 400, 382. Home and the fly ball is not crazy at 15%. ERA over 9. The Sierra is 4, though, so suggests he's like not been nearly as bad as that actual number. He's super cheap. He's in a ballpark, by the way. It's got the fire emoji, so we're good weather to hit baseballs there. And the thing Kirk Keys is talking about as far as optimizers I think are pointing you to play Aaron Savali. And how do you feel about Aaron Savali being reasonably popular? Is that something you're going to gravitate towards or throw away? What do you think, Keith?
I think I'm going to be a little bit underweight on him as well. I just don't like that ownership number. He's not striking out righties hardly at all. I'm going to play both sides. I'm going to stack Detroit also in this game, but the price on DraftKings is pretty useful. I like some cheaper stacks. Seattle is one that you mentioned that I'm totally on board with as well. So I will be able to pay up for pitching quite a bit, but in lineups that I need to save some money, you look at the options down here, and he's certainly standing out as the best of the bunch. I mean, I guess there's a couple of names that have some strikeout upside. Daniel Lynch is the one, maybe. Luis Castillo, I'm sure we'll get into him, but he hasn't been great this year. But there's just not a ton of options to save some salary. So definitely think I will have some exposure, but I'll be underweight on it.
What do you think, Kirk Dees?
It's interesting. So the big thing with him is there's been like a lot of news about him changing his pitch mix, which he's been like purposely doing. So he's going like cutter curveball for a big majority of his pitches. And supposedly that the people, some of the analysts that I follow that they're really high on him actually. And, we did have a decent, anyways, so this is interesting. So I think we lost Dean here, but anyways, so I'm on board with Savali. I don't like the ownership, but I think he's going to figure it out. I don't know if it's going to be today. He has been unlucky. He also has been banged up, and he's also just been trying out this whole new pitch thing, but he's so cheap, right? And so I could see him working out, and it's really about the matchup here. Detroit is terrible. There's no, I don't fear anybody except maybe Javier Baez in that lineup. I mean, everything about them is just terrible so far. They've got the lowest ISO. They rank 29th in WOBA and WRC plus. They're 9th in K percentage. So this is as good a start for him to turn it around as any. So I am on board. I don't like the ownership, but I'm gonna suck it up and play him.
I think I'm back. I was having some mic issues for some reason, and then for no particular reason, my my Spotify just started playing. I'm just like, I don't know if you guys can hear that music, but
what song?
Want to hear it? A friend of mine was saying that they're going to go see a band, or I'm not sure if it's a band or a person called Grouper. And I was like, oh, who's Grouper? I never heard of Grouper. And I was checking Grouper out earlier today. And that's, I think, Poison Tree or something. I don't know what song it was, but I wasn't aware of Grouper, but that's what I was listening to. Sounded fine. All right, my camera's a little bit funky, and we'll change that in a second as I throw it over to, I guess everything is kind of shut down on my end. I don't know what. It's been storming here all day, on and off. So if you guys are hearing, it's actually finally subdued, but maybe that's what's kind of throwing things off. I'm going to throw it to you, Keith. Talk to me about Skubal, who's like good now. And last year he gave up an exorbitant amount of homers, over 2 homers per 9. This year the homers are in check. The velocity is back up. He's kind of pricey. Like it kind of came out of nowhere, 9.5K on DK, but I just believe I trust that arm talent. I like him. J-Ram is playing today. I thought J-Ram may or may not play today because he left yesterday's game with an injury, but he is in the lineup, which is unfortunate if you're playing Skubal, but maybe it's a bit of an overspend, but I might just overreach just because, I don't know, 10% ownership on Skubal, and I think he's just good.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he's good. Was a great prospect coming up. Struggled a little bit to find his footing in the majors, but it certainly looks like he's got some stuff figured out now. Strikeouts are over 28% this year. Walk rate is all the way down at 5%. Those are really solid skills. The issue I have with him today is the price, like you mentioned, which I'll be willing to overspend on it a little bit. But the matchup isn't great either. Cleveland has not struck out very much at all. Projected lineup or confirmed lineup, I guess now, 19.8% strikeout rate against lefties. You've got some really low strikeout bats in there like J-Ram. Rosario is down at 13%. Owen Miller under 20%. Ernie Clement way down at 7%. So it's just kind of the same story. We've been talking about it for the whole slate already, is that there may not be a ton of upside here just because of the matchup. When I'm spending up into the high 9s, 10K for a guy, I want upside with strikeouts, and I'm not sure that the matchup against Cleveland here offers it. But I love the ownership. I'll overspend on him a little bit. I'll definitely be overweight the field on Skubal.
All right, producer Steve, let me know if I did anything different as far as my camera. If we're all good now. We switched cameras, or was recognizing the one that's actually built to my laptop, so hopefully that's good to go. Your take here, Kirk Dees. What do you think of Skubal?
I've been high on Skubal for forever. So I'm not backing down now. I don't care about the price increase. Keith says the strikeout matchup is bad, which is true, but I don't really care. Because when some of these guys are on their game, it doesn't really matter. But the thing is that Cleveland just doesn't offer much resistance in offense anyway. Like you said, Joe Ram, that does make a difference. I did expect that he was going to be out today, not playing. But Josh Naylor is out, right? He's been one of their other power bats. This team has 25th or lower in WOBA and WRC plus. Skubal has given up minuscule hard contact so far in this season. His strikeout stuff is completely legit. He's a big prospect. They babied him before, and now they're letting him rip. And he's going to have bumps in the road. And yes, it's not the most ideal matchup. But the thing is that I don't really see any ideal matchup tonight. So yes, he's overpriced, but Eric Lauer is overpriced, and so are Sean Manaea. I mean, we're going to pay over 10K for, and he's probably going to be the chalk here, right? Like it's kind of like we got a grade on a curve here. So I'm still on board for Skubal. He's actually probably my favorite pitcher tonight.
If you're in the chat, let us know if there's any pitcher you want us to talk about, if it's relevant to the conversation. Throw it out there. Who have we ignored? Who have we not focused on? DK pitcher ownership. Yeah, we talked about that. We'll kind of run back and give the ownership as well. But yeah, Kirk Dees, you mentioned Manaea. He's 9.9 on Fanduel. He's currently looking like the most likely guy to be, well, not most likely, 21% is the biggest ownership number we have. And, good ballpark, but you don't necessarily want to pick on San Fran. On DK, Manaea is 10.2, which, feels a little bit overpriced, but you can make it work. There's not a great pitcher pool. 32% is a pretty big number. Where do you stand on Manaea?
Okay, so Manaea had an amazing first start of the season, right, against the Diamondbacks, who were as bad as any team could be in the beginning of the season, and they're one of the worst teams in baseball.
He had like 7 home runs today, man.
I know, from a talent perspective.
I know.
Now he did have a really strong start in his last one against the Braves, where he K'd 12 people. That's not who he is, I would say. But he is a really solid pitcher who has got a huge, extremely long leash. He threw 104 pitches in his last one. That's great. That's nice on a night like tonight. We do know he does have K upside because he just showed it against Atlanta, even though that's not who he is. The problem is you look at like some of the other matchups he's had, the game before against Miami, the game before against Pittsburgh, he was just fine, right? Like, and now we got to pay over 10K for him. And, you know, it's San Francisco is a really good team that can load up a bunch of righties in there and, you know, and make life a little bit more difficult for him. So, you know, I'll play him tonight because I kind of feel like we have to, and you know, but it's just based on what we have available. But I don't love it by any means. I mean, playing 10-2 for Sean. I mean, to me, Scooball looks like a steal at 9-5 compared to 10-2, but that's just me.
None of it looks great. Well, what's your thoughts here, Keith, as far as Manaea?
I think Kirkwood covered it really well. Very similar thoughts there. I'll play him just because, like, we don't have any great options. He's probably the quote safest of this group up here, but I agree that the strikeout upside is a little bit limited. Like, I think he's an underrated real life pitcher, but he's not a strikeout pitcher, despite what he did against the Braves in his last outing. Like, his strikeout prop opened at 5.5 today. I did jump on the over at 5.5, but now if it's up to 6.5, and I don't know that I'd be willing to go there because he's likely to be in that 6-7 range a lot more than he is to be in that 9-10 range, which is kind of what we're looking at to win a tournament when you're 10K. I don't love the upside. I don't love the ownership. Like, give me Lauer and give me Scooball at far less ownership, and I think with more strikeout upside. I'll pair them with Manaea in some lineups, but I don't think I'll get to the 32% that the field's playing him.
Yeah, no lineup just yet for San Fran. They're projecting 3 lefties, more lefties, the more ideal, obviously. For Manaea lefty on lefty, 32.2% as far as strikeouts dating back to last season. 24% is fine at versus the righties. We have Crawford, Belt, and Yaz projected in the lineup, but we'll see. San Fran, you know, obviously really smart organization, and then they seem to understand platoons more than pretty much anybody else. I did ask the chat if there's anybody we're missing. Who are we not talking about? Who should we focus on? I will, let's see, Eric Johnson. Eric wants to know about Blackburn. Where do you have Blackburn today, Kirk Dees? I know he got some love earlier in the season as a guy that like saw a spike in velocity. I don't think he's on my list. I mean, whatever. If you're running 150, I'm not going to say you can't do it, but I don't think he lands in any of my lineups today.
That's lip, Eric Johnson. He enjoys some of these pitchers that cause a lot of pain. He likes to take the worst of the worst and make them as
he roots for chaos.
Yeah, he does.
Which is a good sport, baseball.
No, and it's great. He's a contrarian guy. And you know, he's pretty good. Blackburn, I think, is fine. I don't think his stuff rates out to be very good. I think he's kind of been overachieving. You know, if you say that, I think he's fine. The matchup is not one that I really think that is to be, you know, there are strikeouts in there. I just don't think he's a high strikeout guy. But there's also a lot of risk there. I mean, this is, hold on. Sorry. I just lost my computer. So, I mean, this is
my power went out for a second. No worries. Go ahead.
It was weird. So the Angels, I mean, the Angels are a tough task. I like the Angels bats tonight in this spot. I mean, give me Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani and Ward against Blackburn as opposed to playing Blackburn against them. But, you know, I get it in theory. There is strikeout upside. He just pitched against them. He only got 3 strikeouts. Yeah, I'm not really on board. I have some takes if we want to go down to some weird guys. I have some takes like Jacob Junis.
Well, good, because somebody asked about Junis. So go ahead, give your Junis take.
So Junis has always had this like amazing slider, and it's always been like pretty well. And he's always had like command issues and stuff like this, but his slider is like off the charts so far this season. And this is a guy that I don't think anybody's going to play him tonight. And the Padres are just not the greatest. I mean, they're not a matchup I'm really scared of at this point right now. So I think it could go well for him at, you know, when we're looking for guys. And I know maybe Keith will like Daniel Lynch, because I know he mentioned some strikeouts. He'll probably like both sides of that game if I had to guess. And I get like, there's like this range here, right? Like, and Luis Castillo, we know about his track record, right? Like, this is a guy who's got K stuff, but like he's coming back from injury. But the thing is, he threw 90 pitches in his first start. So his velocity's down. His stuff isn't the same. His nasty changeup when it's working, but you know, maybe he can put it together tonight. horrific matchup, but there's a lot of pitchers in that range that, you could get some extremely low ownership and have a good start here tonight. But Junis is one of them guys that I'm looking at.
Yeah, somebody asked about Junis, and he's a pretty good price on DK as well. I don't mind him. I think I don't want to use safe, but he feels like he's just going to be okay, if nothing else. Like he should be fine and pitch 5-ish innings and maybe go 2 runs and maybe get a W. Who knows? He's facing Mania, so he probably suppresses his chance to get that win. But Keith, whatever you have to add as far as Junis, or if you want to add anything on Blackburn, by all means, go for it. And Castillo too, because man, he's another guy. He was electric, to use one of Curtiz's adjectives. He was so good when he was like at the top of his game. And I know also historically he's kind of a slow starter if you're buying into that kind of thing. And if you just look at his price and his name, it's like, well, this guy's never this cheap. Of course, Toronto, tough matchup, but I don't know what to do with it. I have no idea what to expect out of him tonight. Do you? Or are you just going to lean into the variance?
Yeah, this range is tough. I think Junis is my preferred option in the 7K range. Blackburn is just a little bit overpriced. I think he's a better pitcher than he was last year, but there's still not a ton of upside, and the Angels have been outstanding this year. So don't like the matchup. He's a little bit overpriced. I would rather go down into this 7K range and try to find something. I think Junis is the guy I'm leaning to. Daniel Lynch was the other one I threw out there, but Luis Castillo has just been so bad. I don't think that Toronto is the team that I want to just kind of run some out there and hope that it's the start that he figures it out. Like you said, 7,300 is just incredibly cheap for what we know this guy can do. Like he's got high velocity and he's had a really good changeup and a decent breaking ball. Like he's had plenty of success in the majors before, but there's something not quite right. And it's against Toronto, who can beat up any pitcher. So it's not the matchup I'm going to chase Castillo. I think Junis is the guy. I would play him over the ownership of Silseth. I think that's a similar play. And you're getting quite a bit of an ownership discount there on Junis over Silseth. So if I wasn't going there, Lynch is probably the guy I would go down to. Decent prospect, has struggled to find his footing in the majors, as some guys have. Kirkwood nailed it. I like Minnesota as well. Like he could absolutely go out there and get blown up and give up plenty of home runs. But he might go out there and just be fine, give you 5 innings, 6 innings and 5 or 6 Ks. And at his price tag, that's pretty useful. Like if he outscores Savali, you're in great shape for a tournament. So I'll probably take some shots on him. I don't love it, but I think this is a slate to try to do some weird things on.
Just 2 more I think are worth mentioning. The chat wants to know about Ranger Suarez. It's a no-go for me. No fly zone there against the Dodgers. Does anybody want to give a pitch for Ranger Suarez?
I mean, nope. Ranger Danger is I don't know how he does it. But he's not my pitch is like, I don't want to play him. Although, he just did really well against the Dodgers, but I don't want to play the Dodgers. Like, I don't know. I don't know if
but you want to play anybody. You got to play somebody.
Yeah, I know. But Ranger just doesn't like his stuff. It just, let me pull it up here. So, I mean, he's pushing almost 50% ground balls, a minuscule amount of hard contact. And I don't know. I've always taken, right-handed batters against Ranger and be like, all right, this is the day and stack. And I just throw money away every time.
You got anything, Keith, as far as Ranger Danger he's been dubbed?
I can't play him against the Dodgers.
That's his official nickname, by the way.
I don't believe that. I'm going to Google that.
It is. I believe
I think you've tried to call Kirkwood out on nicknames before, and it didn't go so well.
I'm 0 for 1, I think. Small sample size. The nickname for Brad Miller. Apparently, according to
Brad.
Red Power Ranger is what he's called. Nobody calls him that.
That used to be, but now everyone calls him Ranger. In Philly, he's adopted the Ranger Danger.
Suarez is the first MLB player to be named a Ranger. When he was playing in the minor league, some of his teammates nicknamed him the Red Power Ranger. Okay. All right. Fair enough. I don't know if that carried over to the majors. Hey, so Kirkies, I pulled up our rankings, our consensus value rankings. Myself, Dave Potts, Cheese is good. Tuttle, we all did the rankings today on DK. I'm the only person that put the Junis in there for the record. I got him 8th. I think you're the only person. No. All four of us put this guy 7th. We have no confidence in him, but like he's on the board. We haven't talked about him yet. Christian Javier. What do you think, Christian? I mean, like he's 8'8", which seems overpriced because, how deep is he going to go? If you look at his K numbers, they're exaggerated because he was out of the pen for a good bit. They've lowered since he's been starting. But like he should be okay in his 5 innings.
Yeah, he struck out 5 Nats in his last start who don't strike out very much. He only threw 84 pitches, and that's probably the range they're going to keep him in. That's what they're not letting this guy run loose. He was out of the bullpen, so he's had skewed strikeout numbers, and his stuff hasn't, it doesn't have massive strikeout upside when you look at him now. But I think, he's in play, right? Like this could certainly work out. And, there's not we don't have the Max Scherzers, the massive upside. The only real K guy we have tonight is Robbie Ray in a tough matchup. And so I think all of these guys are in play. Texas is certainly a lineup that he could mow down.
This season, Eric Lauer's got 35.5% Ks, by the way. He takes umbrage with that statement.
No, yeah, and I'm on board, and it's also not the best, strikeout. He's pitching against the Nats tonight, who strike out 16.9%. But it's so there he earns it with 35% strikeouts. So your point is taken.
You're right.
So far. But again, I think they need to just test this guy. And,
why are you so adamant that he just can't improve? He doesn't have an off-season workout program. Maybe he's eating the right fruits and the right beets, and now he's good to go. Possibly. Is that not plausible?
It's plausible.
Keith, you got anything else here? Feel free to give us a summary as far as pitchers. We talked, and then we're talking to pitchers, we're talking hitters. Like when we get to the hitters, we're not going to love a lot of hitters, I don't think. We'll see. I'm curious to hear you guys love, because everything is just sort of kind of in the middle. Where that's the general assessment as far as this slate for me. But Keith, give me the summary. How you're approaching pitching today.
All right, up at the top end of the range, I think Minaya is probably the safest guy. I don't love the ownership there, so I'm totally on board with pivots to Eric Lauer and Tariq Skubal. Despite the perceived lower K matchups, they come with some strikeout upside. So I like the pivots up in the top range there. Agree that Javier is fine, just kind of in that middle range. Robbie Ray slightly underpriced on DK. Tough matchup against Boston, fly ball pitcher in Fenway. Definitely some very high risk, but he theoretically comes with some strikeout upside as well. You've got Silseth in that middle range. Very young guy, short leash, but a great matchup. Junis, I think, is a fine pivot in that range. Just going to San Francisco, we've seen a lot of guys resurrect their careers in San Francisco, so I do like that one. And then all the way down at the bottom, Aaron Savali is the guy picking up the ownership. Good matchup with Detroit. Has struggled this year, but because of the matchup and the price tag, definitely in play.
Same deal, Kirk Dees. Give me your summary.
Yeah, I feel like I've done it 5 times already. I'm on board. My favorite is Skubal tonight. Cheese's favorite is Skubal tonight. I'll play some Minaya. I probably prefer Lauer, though it's not the best matchup but I think I think he's got a really safe matchup. So I like that. Savali, I'm on board with. Silseth, I'm on board with. I don't know, just all of these guys, just make your lineups whatever you like. It really doesn't matter tonight.
Like whoever you want, basically.
Like, yeah. And like Jacob Junis, I think is really, really sneaky. I guess that would be like my sneak play. And then, all these really low K guys get rid of.
By the way, we were talking about Eric in chat and how he likes to, watch the world burn, and he likes the contrarian stuff. He likes Seattle. So maybe is Seattle not as off the board as I think they are? They're more off the board than they actually are. But as far as stacks go, I'm pulling up our ownership stuff on Seattle, and it's pretty low. I'm looking at DK specifically, and nobody is above 10%. I understand 20 teams are playing, but France at 10, 9. But Kirk Dees, do we all like Seattle, and that's just weird?
So I get everybody's projections. That's what I do. And I aggregate and I get a look on what, who likes what. And
what do you see?
So one of our big competitors, Optimal, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Seattle bats in it.
Oh, wow.
Another competitor. has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Seattle bats in the optimal. Another competitor, just one, Julio Rodriguez. So I think Seattle is going to be getting a lot of play tonight. Let me see what the bat says. Bat has 2, right? So like Julio Rodriguez is going to be massive chalk. He's batting cleanup against Waka. He's in Fenway. He's 32.
Really good.
He's 3,200. He's electric, right? Like he's going to be massive chalk tonight. Jesse Winker, great track record, right? Like really outstanding numbers against righties. Batting 5th in Fenway, 3,100. I mean, these guys are going to be popular tonight. There's no doubt about it.
By the way, you said you felt like you're repeating yourself 5 times. You know, we've been on the air for like 50 minutes or so. People haven't been with us the entire time. Somebody might have just jumped in 15 minutes ago, Kirk Dees, and they're like, I don't want to rewind.
I know. I just said I felt like it. I'm sorry. That's
it's fine. We are going to repeat ourselves in an hour and a half. It's just going to happen, man.
Good point. Good point.
And we do, you know, if you're watching the entire 2-hour stream, we do appreciate it, but I'm sure people are just kind of coming in and out, cooking dinner and I don't know, coming home from work. Who knows what they're up to? Not everybody can just like work from the confines of their own home, Kirk Dees. So
sorry, point well taken. I'll keep that in mind.
I wasn't saying that as a combative way, to be clear. We do want to mention before we do stacks and talk about the sticks. If DFS is just too complicated for you, if you don't want to figure out the ownership, you don't want to do you can't work within the confines of a DK or Fanduel salary cap, you can play on Stat Hero. How about that? It's a fantasy sports platform that allows users to compete only against the house. Just take the house down. You're not taking Kirk Dees' money. You're not taking my money or Keith's money. Head-to-head style contest against that hero. They're going to provide a lineup. You're going to provide a lineup. You just got to take their lineup down. There's also pick'em style contest and survivor pools as well. If you are interested, if you're intrigued, if any of that sounds appealing to you, how about this? 50% deposit bonus up to $250. Use the promo code GRINDERS, GRINDERS. Again, $50. No, 50% deposit bonus up to $250 at Stat Hero. Keith, we're going to go around the horn in a second, but before we do that, just give me some of your favorite stacks tonight. I have our stack rankings. Right now our consensus rankings are Houston, Milwaukee. Milwaukee lineup just came out. I think it looks standard. Dodgers, Boston, Seattle, Minnesota, Tampa, Toronto. Does that sound about right to you? And how about yourself? What's your personal preference as far as your favorite stacks tonight?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Seattle is my favorite stack too. And when I first opened up the slate this morning, it looked like they were going to be really low owned. You had Coors on the slate. The Yankees were projecting to be pretty chalky. And like the Seattle team was way underpriced against a fly ball pitcher in Fenway Park, and it just looked phenomenal to me. So it's really disappointing to hear that they're gaining steam. I like this spot in Fenway Park for these guys, and they're all really cheap, especially on DK. Houston also missing their best hitter, so I don't think Houston is going to be as popular as they were projecting to be earlier in the day. What did you have?
No, I was just gonna say no Bryce Harper. Also, by the way, we didn't even talk about Julio Urias, which is weird. Like he's a pretty good pitcher, but they just don't give much of a leash, and he's overpriced. But I guess he's kind of in the pool. Nobody's really playing him though, right? People aren't playing Julio Urias.
No, his velocity's down. Strikeouts have been way down. There's too many red flags there.
Yeah, Harper. I don't know.
I think this could work out.
In what way?
I mean, Philly is kind of a high variance offense. Harper's not in the lineup again.
Correct. Yeah, he's dealing with that UCL, and
I mean they can make life difficult because they have a lot of good powerful right-handed batters with good names. But they've been extremely inconsistent. He's a guy that I feel confident in. That his strikeout stuff is down. There's no doubt about it, and I don't know if that's going to go back up. But I think like a nice long quality start could be in play for him in this one. I think there's risk. I don't know what the upside is. So I mean, but again, like I said, we're grading on a curve. I just don't love anybody.
Weather Edge does like the weather for hitting in that Cleveland game in a 32-game sample, and it does have the fire emoji. 86 degrees, 16 miles per hour to dead center. Boston, nice little bump as well in a 95-game sample. 12% bump in homers, 11% bump in runs. And again, if you guys are tuning in late, we'll go ahead and drop that in chat. anybody can have at it and take a peek. That is typically premium, but that is Kevin Roth's Weather Edge tool. I see chat's asking about umpire data. A bunch of new series going down. So I don't know. Have we got the umpire data in, or we're still kind of figuring that out? It's in the lineup HQ now.
Look at this, an extreme hitters for Savali.
Oh boy. Yeah. And so a great ballpark environment for hitting baseballs and extreme hitters park, because we saw it yesterday in that White Sox Royals game too, where everything was kind of pointing toward an over, and I believe that game did go over. Luis Robert hit a ball like I think it's still going. It's pretty amazing, and he stared at it for a good 2 seconds. So it's pretty awesome. All right. Anything stack wise, Kirk Keys, you want to knock out before we go around the horn, give our favorite players at each position?
No, I mean, I like the Twins tonight. Daniel Lynch is someone I think we can pick on. I think it sets up well for like Buxton, and Garlic, as Kevin Roth likes to say.
Sure.
And he's got like incredibly. He's gonna be yanked out of the game when for sure. Pinch hit risk for sure, but like he crushes the ball when he's in there. His hard hit percentage is really up there. His ISO is extremely high, to start the season. He's a platoon guy, but like there's a good chance he could homer in this one. But also this, you get Gary Sanchez, you get Correa, like the offense is getting stronger. Urshela is pretty bad, but you can still play him. But and the KC is the 8th worst xFIP for in the bullpen so far this season. So I think this is a stack that could work out. I like the Brewers. Fetty gives up a lot of walks, 12% walk rate on the season, which is bad. Also is a guy, he doesn't miss a lot of bats, and their bullpen is not very good at all. So that's another situation that, I'm pretty high on here in the Brewers. And then I got to play my Red Sox against Chalk Robbie Ray.
If a righty comes in for KC, Garlic could become like a Rise or Gordon. Those two guys are not in the lineup and they're on the bench, so it's possible. Those are the potential pinch hitters. Milwaukee, by the way, you mentioned them. They're really, really expensive on DK, like egregiously expensive. Colton Wong.
But you can make it work. Even if if you take a Garlic one off, or you play some of these smaller range pitchers, because we don't want to play Manaea. So I think like you said, I think they'll be lower owned because of that, but I think there's a lot of upside. You can still make high upside lineups with them.
Yeah. I mean, I think their ownership is going to be way down on DK. You have a thought on that, Keith? Because Milwaukee, Luis Urias is 4.8, Wong is 5.2, Yelich is fine, I guess. Rowdy Tellez was just underpriced early in the year, so maybe he's kind of where he should be now. Thoughts as far as Milwaukee, especially the pricing on DK?
Yeah, they're still a little bit overpriced, but I like them. Fetty is not a pitcher to fear. Fairly talented. I particularly like Rowdy Tellez. Obviously, Yelich is great. More of a mini stack, I think, like a 3-man for me than it is a full stack. But they're in, and it's just because of their pricing. If they were cheaper, I would have a lot more interest. But I like how they set up against Fetty. But I think just because of the pricing, it'll be more of a 3-man stack than a 5-man.
The umpire data we have so far, like one extreme. It's in Cleveland, as Kirk Deves was pointing out, Savali and Skubal. Well, you like the Skubal too. I guess you're fine with it though. You're that's not going to chase you away, is it?
Doesn't scare me, Dean.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great. You'd prefer it not to be, but you're still fine with it, basically.
Correct.
And nothing just yet as far as a couple other, because the new series are starting and they're still figuring out umpires and all that. You drew the short straw, Keith. You're going to tell us the long list of catchers that you like on this slate.
All right, let's see here. Will Smith at the top is always one of the catchers in play. He's got that platoon advantage against Suarez. Kirkwood mentioned Sanchez, Gary Sanchez. I do like Minnesota as well. He's hitting in the 5-hole today. It gets pretty thin after that. Narvaez in a Milwaukee stack I do like. It falls off quickly after that. Those are the main 3. Outside of that, it's going to be guys in my stack, like Raleigh in a Seattle stack is fine. Vasquez in a Boston stack, but not a ton to love. It's Will Smith at the top and Sanchez in the mid range you don't have the money for Smith.
Yeah, that's one of the other I hate to say appealing things about Seattle is you can just punt with Raleigh, but like it's right there. I don't hate Melendez, at 3.4K. I think he's got some power. So I don't, and Speltzer is not somebody I'm afraid of on the Minnesota side in the middle, but otherwise it's just a bunch of nonsense, isn't it here, Curtis?
For catcher?
Yeah.
Mitch Garver is back after some kind of forearm issue. He's kind of hidden down at the 7 spot for the Rangers, but he is a guy that I could get behind.
We like him versus lefties traditionally.
Much better, sure. But still has solid numbers versus righties. Looking at pulling up and plate IQ right here, 223 ISO is certainly fine, 360 WOBA. Yes, and Will Smith, obviously, like him. Gary Sanchez, I like. And Zunino is always a, strikeout or a bomb,
I'm okay with him on FanDuel at like 2-1. Like it's just a guy that has home run upside. And I know that ballpark, they've done some things there, and especially for a guy like Zunino, but when he gets a hold of it, it doesn't matter almost all times. But, we know what the left field where they raise the roofs and then they push back the fences, but it is also more appealing as far as the weather conditions.
Who the hell me? I just want to know what they were like saying. Who had that meeting and we're like, yeah, let's limit these home runs here.
Because they were giving up too many home runs was the problem.
Yeah, but
they didn't realize it would hurt their offense at the same time, I guess. But Baltimore,
and like the fun of the games, just.
And the fans tend to like home runs more than flyouts, right?
Yeah, even if it's like when your team sucks, and at least they're excited that they caught a home run ball, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. It's we've had this conversation before, and like we ask these questions and like all these questions. Well, why would baseball like intentionally kill the power of the ball? Like, why would you do that if that's what they're allegedly doing? What is the upside in that? Who wants to see a dead ball? And it's logic out the window. I don't know. And it just doesn't look like the nice it used to. Also, is the other part of it. Looks a little funky. Keith, you want to start off first base? First base, there's actually some real hitters.
Yeah, definitely. I do like the Angel stack tonight. Ohtani's always going to be a part of that. Good spot for him. Roddy Tellez already mentioned. In a Brewer stack like that, a good amount. Ty France is the Seattle guy here at first. He's underpriced. Has been hitting the ball really well. He's only 3,600 hitting in the 2-hole. So he's probably my favorite option here at first. I do really like Yuli Gurriel as well, hitting 5th for Houston with the platoon advantage. He's hit sinker balls really well too in his career, and Perez is a sinker ball guy. Or it might have been cutters. Sorry, I was looking into that. One of Perez's pitches he has hit traditionally well. It's either the sinker or the cutter. Dahlbeck in a Red Sox stack, and Jared Walsh also another Angel here if you want to play Ohtani in the outfield.
I see TJ Zwarych in the chat in the bullpen himself. TJ and Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth, along with Squirrel Patrol. Squirrel from like every live final ever existed. He's into about 20 or so, give or take. I know he's won at least one. They're jumping on in about 22 minutes, give or take. So stick around for that. Crunch time. We'll be taking you guys straight up to lock. And he also dropped his free article, which I think is a couple times a week. Check out the Agents of Fantasy, heroes who can take down a MLB DFS tournament. We see what he does here, Curtis. I don't know if you figure he's got a podcast called and a website called Agents of Fandom, and he's combining his two loves. And there you go. Have you read this article before?
I have. It's very well written. And I was interested, and I was very he blew me away that he said he was writing for Bleacher Report since 16 years old or something.
No, like 12. He was like the head writer at 12 years old.
We've got like the modern day Doogie Howser, like of
fantasy sports. Howser sports reporters.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
And he does the Spidey bombs.
Well, I mean, yeah. Let me ask you a question though. Do you think TJ knows who Doogie Howser is? Does he catch that reference?
I feel like he gets it all. He's got his hands on the pulse of everything. If he's writing for Bleacher Report at 12 years old,
he's an old soul.
I mean, he blew you away with like old, like he knew like old baseball knowledge that you
He
thought
shut
for
me
sure
up.
would.
Yeah. Chris Mullen, he was aware of. I'm like, how do you know who Chris Mullen? He was 13, not 12. Let's not get carried away. He was 13.
Okay.
Maybe like age restrictions are a little bit different in Canada, where like the child labor laws are different. I don't know, but I have questions for Bleacher Report and their hiring practices. Good for him. Good for TJ. First baseman. What do you have here, Curtis?
I mean, Ty France is great play. I mean, Walker's always been the little reverse splitsy. He gives up a bunch of power. It's in Fenway Park. He's cheap. He's batting second. He's been doing really well this season. He's also got great plate discipline skills. Doesn't strike out a bunch. And Walker's a low strikeout guy, so that's great. When I like Rowdy Tellez, like I said, when are we going to start talking about the Rowdy Tellez MVP? When is one of those conversations? I know he's falling back down to earth, but for sure he could hit a bomb against a low strikeout pitcher. Vladdy, right? Like always in play. Yandy Diaz batting first is a guy that I love playing. No one likes playing him. Like Yandy Diaz and Gurriel. Like they just have that reputation that they're never going to hit homers, right? Like, like Cardi, like Chop always says, like the bat just disrespects Gurriel. You have to bump up Gurriel's projection every single slate, like when you play. And it's true. And no one plays these guys.
He's also old. He's like 36 now, or 37, isn't he?
Great. And he won the batting title last season.
Who cares about a batting title?
This season when the home runs are down, I do.
Let's talk
about game log watching. So, okay, over his 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 4 of his last 6 games, 19 fantasy points, 24 fantasy points, 20 fantasy points, 23 fantasy points. I think Chop Chop won this conversation. Chop is better than the bat. Give me Kiki Hernandez, BVP, and Gurriel tonight. All right.
I'm pulling up the leaders in baseball in batting average, and I'm just curious and if I can just find this in the fly because I'm getting home runs, ERA. No, give me batting average. Okay, yeah. So Keith, who do you think's the batting average leader in all of baseball as of right now? Any ideas?
Oh, it's not something I look at.
No, I don't look at it either. The first one's actually not surprising. Like, it's surprising if you were told this at the beginning of the year, but it's not surprising now that I see, like, oh yeah, this guy's not stopped hitting all season long.
Trout.
No, I'm saying
Turner.
No. In the beginning of the year, you would have laughed at me if I told you this is the guy. But now knowing what you know, it's like, oh yeah, that guy, the guy that like we did not expect it, but he's not stopped smashing. He's on the same team as Mike Trout.
Ward.
Yes. Taylor Ward's batting 375 with 9.
You know what? We made fun of Taylor Ward batting cleanup all last season. We're like, oh, these Angels are idiots, like
Joe Madden, what a dope.
And then all of a sudden Madden with his bullpen, how he's just horrendous. But anyways, Ward is shutting us up this season.
Machado batting 355, Tim Anderson 345, JD Martinez 344. That seems like a big number for him.
Well, I didn't think any Red Sox would be over 300.
Interesting. Xander Bogaerts 331.
He would be the one guy I would expect.
Somebody asked me in chat randomly, well, last time I've been to a baseball game, I was at a Marlins game last year. Yeah, that's the last time. When was the last time have you been to Fenway Park in a while there, Curtis?
Yeah, I went to some playoffs last season, I think.
The Yankee one? Or no, that was where how much held?
No. I don't even remember. I have no idea.
Have you been to an Arizona game yet, Keith?
Yeah, I went to a couple in spring training. It's been a minute since I've been to a major league game, probably a Texas Rangers game 2 years ago. I'll definitely hit up some Diamondbacks games this year, though.
Is that Chase Field, right? Yeah, you're not too far from that? Pretty sure.
No, not too far. 10, 15 minutes or so.
Nice ballpark. Get in the pool, man. Have a good time.
Yeah.
Tough to hit bombs out to center field in that place.
Center field, it's like what, 430?
I saw like yesterday, this will be a home run in 29 out of the 30 parks. Like somebody hit one the other day, and it was that was the park it would.
Was it old Detroit Stadium, which was like 430 or something like the dead center, something crazy, and the sides were pretty easy. I don't know. Cecil Fielder highlights. You guys remember him? Prince's dad. All right,
yeah.
Not the musician, Prince Fielder. All right, second base. Now we're behind on time. What just happened? Doesn't matter. Whatever we don't cover. the crew behind us, Squirrel Patrol, TJ, Kevin Roth, they're going to go around the horn. They're going to do the same exact thing. This is just the warm-up act. I'm going to let you go first this time, Kirk D's. A Keystone position second. What do you have for me?
Let's get, somebody's got to do something against Martin Perez. So Altuve's at the top of the list. Trevor Story, 3 homers yesterday. Get on. He's been heating up anyway. It's time to ride the Story train. Cronenworth, 4,200. I could, I like Junis, but I'm not like completely sold on Junis. You know what I mean? Like, and certainly he's had home run issues throughout his career. And Cronenworth could take him deep, 4,200. Let's see. That's all I got.
What's the guy's name?
Who? Cronenworth?
Okay. In my head, I'm not hearing the end part. I am hearing Cronenworth, and somehow I'm not hearing the Cronenworth. I thought you're
Cronenworth.
Sorry.
Is that a chop pronunciation?
I thought you were doing a chop thing. And that's all I was hearing. I just heard Cronenworth, and I'm like, any analysis, I lost. It's like you lost me at Cronenworth. Go ahead, Keith. What do you have?
Colton Wong is overpriced, but I like him. Jorge Polanco is fine. I would skip Frazier in my Seattle stack and play Toro instead. Just a little bit more pop, a little more upside from Toro, I think. That's about it. Agree with Altuve and Story at the top, definitely.
Yeah, Altuve historically smashes lefties. Obviously, we talk about Martin Perez giving up 0 homers all season long. He's just a magician out there. His BABIP's really good as well. You figure at some point it's going to hit midnight, but like that's what he's always done. It seems like, and I think Chop was on the show earlier today with TJ, and I think it was Squirrel as well. They do a show on Fridays that's out at some random time. That's why you hit the notifications button, so when that show's going down, when it's getting dropped on a Friday. And of course, we appreciate when y'all hit the like. You're going to be asked later on. TJ is going to be like, "Hey, Spidey Bomb, 50 likes or 100 likes or 75." He's going to give you a Spider-Man homer. Just knock it out now, so he doesn't have to, just ask for it. Just let it be a part of your process. You turn on the show, you hit the like button, makes things so much easier. Second base, Keith, what do you have for me? Have you already said? Am I going back and forth the second time? I feel like you're up.
We did second already.
My bad. Jump to third. My apologies.
No worries. Bregman is the number one play here for me. Martin Perez has got to come back down to earth. He's not a 2 ERA pitcher or whatever he's been this year. Ramirez back in the lineup, been dealing with a little bit of an injury, so he's fine, but I would play Bregman first. Brad Miller is a guy I like at the top of the Texas lineup to save some money. Don't mind Jeimer Candelario either. Detroit is not a team we've talked a ton about, but if Savali's picking up ownership, I have some interest in stacking Detroit. Candelario is definitely a part of that, along with Baez, who I'm sure we'll mention at short. Machado's had a great year, can definitely play him. Devers is fine and always under-owned in lefty-lefty matchups, but he's handled lefties just fine throughout his career. So I like him a good amount.
I love Jose Ramirez. We have him projected as the highest owned third baseman on DK today by a good margin, 20%. Next up is Bregman. I don't agree with that. And that's also in part because I like Scooball a good bit. And I know Curtis likes Scooball too. And maybe that's one way of being different on this slate to some degree. I think I'm going to be less in the field than J-Ram. I just am. I think he's awesome, but I think Scooball is really good too. Your thoughts here, Curtis?
Yeah, I agree, but you certainly can play him.
Yeah.
And from a talent perspective, he's right up there at the top. Bamboo Brad is in play at 3,100 leading off. Bregman, I echo your sentiment. I think he's a great play. Again, I'm always attacking Martin Perez and just throwing him money away, but I'll do it again tonight. And then I really like Bobby Witt Jr. tonight. I think that he's going yard. You can play him at the shortstop position as well, 4,500. I think Smeltzer is a total fraud. He's only up because, with Dylan Bundy was sent, was injured. And so I don't think he's going to be hanging around too much longer. And extremely low swing and miss stuff that he has. And so no one's going to play Bobby Witt, but I am.
I saw somebody in chat asking about what roofs are open and which ones are closed. I'm going to yield to the bats. Derek Hardy is the bat. Feel free to get that yourself. According to the bat, we have Houston is closed. Atlanta and Miami, that's closed. That's the earliest slates, or 6:40. Texas, when Houston expected to be closed as well. Roof expected to be open in Milwaukee, and it's expected to be open in Toronto. How cold is it in Toronto? Where they're opening that roof up tonight? Wonder what the temperature there is. And yeah, I assume this is correct, but obviously confirm.
My dew point model has it at 64 degrees.
What is the dew point in Toronto?
Well, it's got high humidity, 82% humidity. It does like it, and the wind's blowing out to left at 11 miles per hour.
You are really quick to say that, but it sounds like you're making it up at the same time. So I don't know which way we're going with it.
Check. Go ahead and research it.
I think you're actually right.
I am right. This is factual, but
you had that ready to go.
Except that there could be some bugs in my model here, so like there could be a little bit off here. So I'm always.
You're still in beta though, right?
Exactly. That's why I can't say for 100% certain, but my model loves it.
What is your model like as far as shortstop tonight?
I'll just say Bobby Witt again. Other than that, Javier Baez is going to be chalky tonight, but batting cleanup. We've given pros and cons on each side of this against Savale or play Savale, but Javier Baez is a very good play. Carlos Correa is in play. Wander Franco's in play. Corey Seager is smashing the ball right now. Looks good. So I'm on board there. We got my man Xander, and that's about it.
Izzy says, "Oh man, this is a whole conversation we had on Twitter the other day." Let me ask you this, Keith: if you were to maybe writing an article, right? And if you're writing an article and you're talking about the Milwaukee Bucks and you're writing a little shorthand, how would you shorten Milwaukee?
So I would go MIL, and I saw how you do it, and I can't get behind that.
So I do an MWK, and like again, there's no right or wrong on this. And the airport code, which that's a good default, is MKE. Izzy said apparently the roof is closed according to the hotline in Milwaukee. I don't know how accurate. I would assume the hotline is correct, but yeah, some would say MLW, some would say MIL, some would say MKE. But then if you pull up other airport codes like Cincinnati's, like 3 letters that make no sense. So it's I don't know. I just saw that and it reminded me of that conversation. Kirkies, are you an MIL guy?
No, I'm not.
MKE?
MWK.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that works. Okay. There's a couple that were just really, really funky. I'm going to pull up on the fly just because, and I'm like, that does not make any sense for the year. You think the first 3 letters or something like that. Izzy's wife is a stewardess, so of course that defaults to the MKE. That makes sense. But yeah, and they're laughing at MWK, but I don't think
much to add. Trey Turner, Bogarts is great. Correa is great. Baez is great. Moving on.
All right, so the outfield, I agree that you were talking about earlier to Kirkies as far as outfield, specifically on DK. Like J-Rod looks awesome. Like he's going to be one of those guys like going to be like 5'5", like when he's a fully grown project, whatever you want to call him. Like he's still figuring stuff out, but he's already progressed this season. Waka's not somebody we're afraid of. The environment's fine. The monster's lurking. It's not too far away. Yes, it's tall, but he certainly could smash one over. Dollar for dollar, he's my favorite outfielder today, specific to DK. Kirkies, your thoughts as far as J-Rod? And you've already talked about Winker as well, and that's kind of one of the reasons why Seattle is popping for us. And then if you have salary, what about guys like Buxton and Trout? They're good too.
Yeah, they're at the top of the list. Ohtani's probably my favorite of all of them, just with the left-handed bat there, but certainly love Trout, Buxton. Those are the top high-end plays. Then you go with, obviously, Jay Rodriguez, like you said. Jesse Winker is too cheap, another Seattle guy. I really like JD Martinez, 4,600, fly ball hitter, power hitter against a fly ball pitcher. Robbie Ray here. Sign me up for that. It's too bad Jordan Alvarez isn't in the lineup. I would have liked to play him, but I don't know. There's so many plays. Play whoever you want.
TK, your boy.
And
my number one play. Sorry, forgot about that. That's my bad. Number one play. He will be in my main lineup on Yahoo tonight in honor of Chop.
How much is he on Yahoo? Like $8?
$11.
Yeah. Now if he crashes, it's the Chop's fault. You take the victory lap for the homers, but like otherwise it's on Chop. Is that how that
Of
works?
course, I'll rip into him all night. Probably the first at bat. If he Ks or something, I'll be.
You're the tilter. You're a first at bat.
I'll be lighting him up. Absolutely.
By the way, you mentioned Jordan. I was on the show the other day with Grant talking about like sports betting. Jordan's like 32-1 to win MVP. That seems like, I know he's a DH and there's probably like somewhat of a curve you get hit with. I mean, what do you think, Keith? That's pretty good, isn't it? 32-1.
Yeah, that's a pretty big number for. I mean, he's a top 5 hitter in baseball, pretty clearly, in my opinion. I do think he gets dinged a little bit for not playing the field.
I mean, when he does play, he's one of the worst fielders. So.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's 22-1 now. I'm 99% sure it was 32. So maybe, I don't know if we moved the needle or not, or so maybe Grant put a bet on it. I talked him into it, but I
can't wait for my other 22-1 to cash.
Which is that, Mobley?
Boston. My Boston Celtics to win it all.
I don't want to talk about Evan Mobley. That was a disaster. That money was in my bank account.
I am so mad. I did not know that Marcus Smart odds were so were like 100-1 or something for a while for him to win Defensive Player of the Year. I never play that stuff. I would have definitely bet on him and Mikal Bridges. Once Time Lord went.
I know Gallagher had a ticket on it.
I mean, if I knew if I read like a tweet, I definitely would have bet it, but I just never even thought about it. I never play those.
Shop around for these odds. Somebody's saying in chat something 12-1. It's not 12-1 in Alvarez. He's 22-1 currently on DK. Maybe it's 12-1 someplace else. And there's Andre in chat. We got some backup. Let's go. Heat is right. Fellow Heat fan. By the way, quick question. Who can tell me the answer? This will debunk any sort of airport code you have. Who knows the New Orleans airport code? New Orleans, NEWORLEAS and NS. In Louisiana, what's the airport code? Who's got it?
I've been there too. I don't remember. I've been there.
It's MSY.
Okay.
Like what? It stands for Moistened Stockyards. I'm not sure the story there, but yeah.
You guys ever been to Mardi Gras?
Twice. Yeah. It's good times.
Good.
How about yourself?
Yeah.
I mean, I was a college kid at the time, so it's like, it was a different person.
Same.
I went there in the middle of college. Like my friend rented a van, and we took like a bunch of us. We all just drove down there and went absolutely bananas.
Not strawberries?
No, we went bananas.
The callback to whoever's been listening to the show for an hour and a half. Somebody tuned in 5 minutes ago. Like, what does that even mean? What's the context of that? Keith, anything else to say as far as outfielders? By all means, fire away. The people want to hear homers. They like home run calls. Let's get 3 guys that are going to bang out some homers tonight. Feel free to be as ambitious as you want to be. What do you have?
All right. Outfielders agree with all the guys you guys talked about. Trout, Ohtani at the top, Buxton right there with them. Seattle guys too cheap. Franmil Reyes is somebody I like. I know we're on Scooball, but he's got big power, and he's really cheap on both sides. Let's see here. Yeah, I think it's been pretty well covered outside of that. So moving on to some home runs. Give me Trout as the top one, expensive guy. I'll go Walsh in the middle, Jared Walsh. So liking that LA stack as we're going through this. And then I will go down at the bottom. Give me Yuli Gurriel.
Oh, old man Yuli. There it is. Also, Nashville is BNA. BNA is Nashville code. So I don't know.
BNE, I think. No,
is it BNE? No, you're thinking of the old Dane Cook bit, breaking and entering.
No, what's BNE airport?
Breaking and entering. It's a police code, I think, when you're committing a crime. On that note, Kirk, give me some homers. We got the crunch time.
Byron Buxton at the top, and then I'm going to take my Otto Kiki Hernandez. Gets his number 6 off of Robbie Ray, maybe even a 7th, and then Bobby Witt Jr.
All right, J-Rod's going to homer. We got Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth, who showed some mercy to me last night. I appreciate it. We have SquirrelPatrol, and then TJ, who's been lurking in the chat. He's hanging out. He's going to get all my references now. TJ, do you have a hot take as far as fruit? You guys get like pineapples and such up there, right, in Canada?
Of course.
Are you pro? What's your number one power rank fruit?
It's tough to beat a nice ripe mango.
Mango? That's contrarian, isn't it?
No, mango's great. That's a good call. I feel bad for saying mine, but like watermelon, I love watermelon. I'll always love watermelon. Watermelon chunks you buy, like
why would you feel bad?
I don't know. I feel like it's I don't know. I've been trained to feel like
It's cheap. Maybe that's
Yeah.
why.
yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
You know what? You know what's the most underrated fruit is cantaloupe.
No,
When it's
properly rated.
good, when it's good, it's good. When it's
When
when
it's
it's
what-
just,
yeah.
when it's not ripe,
When
and
is
it's
it
too
good?
hard.
When you get it in one of those like trays that's been in the grocery store for a few days already, like that's not good cantaloupe. But when you get a good, nice, fresh cantaloupe, that's some good fruit.
I went on a hike and it was so hot, and all they had like my friend's girlfriend had a plate of cantaloupe, and it was like the greatest thing ever that day in the heat. So
I think it would have been great though. It's all based upon the moment. Cantaloupe
cons-
is a filler in fruit salad.
The consistency of fruit is incredibly important. Like bananas are always good. I know what I'm getting with a banana, but there are so many fruits like a watermelon. 80% of the time, watermelon sucks. 20% of the time, it's freaking magical. The ups and downs of fruit are really tough. But Dean, are you aware of what this is?
Is that a pear? Is that a mango? What are we looking at?
So this is a certain type of mango. It's not your typical, I think it's called like a red mango or a green mango. That mango sucks. That mango is trash. Don't eat it. But if you see these mangoes in your grocery store, get them. They are the number one fruit in the world.
Do you have stock in this mango? Were you
No. It's
you
just
were prepared.
I lived my whole life never knowing this. And then a few years ago, I had my first one, and it is the best fruit in the universe.
What is it
This-
called?
I like a nice
Am I
pear.
supposed to take a
I like a
picture
nice
of this
pear,
and hold it up
too.
to my grocer? Or what's the name of it?
Well,
Is that
I don't-
sponsoring the show? Like, what's going on?
I feel
The
very passionate.
FanDuel mango.
Yeah, this is the FanDuel mango. I think it's actually called like an Altuve mango or something along
What?
the. Yeah, but
Jose?
yes, it's a Jose Altuve mango, and it's freaking amazing. So next time you're at the grocery store and you see one of these mangoes, not the other kind, get it.
All right. Well, I'm going to write that down. I'm going to the Jose Altuve mango. We're going to go
Yep.
ahead and check that out. And
Ask for one; they'll know exactly what you're talking about.
with that, I think we hit the quota on fruit talk. By all means, continue to talk about fruit. The thing with Roth bananas, the ceiling is not a 10, but you're right. Like it's always going to be like a 7 or a 7.
Right. But at least I'm
Bananas
never
are great.
disappointed.
It's got a
Bananas
high
are a
floor.
great cash
It's got a high
gameplay.
floor.
Bananas are a great cash game play. They're typically not
Yes.
someone you'd want to roster in tournaments because they typically have quite a bit of rostership, but they're good in cash because you're not worried about that as much. And yeah, exactly like you said, not a high ceiling, but a good floor.
No shelf life either. It's always tough when you go for that. And you're like, oh, a couple days later, and it's got to make.
Yeah, but
I
at
mean,
least
this
you
is
can
DFS
tell.
gotta
though.
make
We
banana
don't
bread.
we don't care about season long. We don't care about tomorrow or last night, as Dean would say. This is a tonight sport. So bananas are great for that.
Yeah. All right. Wow. How many viewers do we have left after 6 minutes of talking about fruit?
They actually love it.
Yeah.
It got chat buzzing before, but all right, good. I'll talk to you guys. Good show.
Okay. Oh, all right.
That was Kurt Dees. Keith, if he's still here. Keith, appreciate Keith hanging out. And I was Dean. Now that is the start of the FanDuel Crunch Time starring Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. You got SquirrelPatrol and TJ. So here we go. We're handing it over. Enjoy your weekend, boys.
Thank you, Dino. I like Kirk signing off like he's just talking to his friends. He's like, all right, well, I'm going to get out of here now. That's his official sign off. This is it. This is the moment you've been waiting for, guys. This is Crunch Time, sponsored by FanDuel, joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. One, that is Squirrel right there hanging out with us. Squirrel, how you doing, man?
Good. Yeah. Good Friday. Ready for some big tournaments. So let's get going.
Okay. Did you play any golf?
No,
Oh.
I don't really usually do golf.
Okay.
It's just so random, but I know it's a big weather weekend, like AM, PM splits.
Good. It's been so good. It's been so fun. Just literally this morning, winds were over 40 miles per hour, and now they're at 5. The wind is at 5 after 40, and I'm just in heaven. Just like, I really hope it works out great for everyone who stacked it properly.
Did it go the way we were expecting? Or like sometimes it switches, right?
Yes, right. Occasionally, yeah, like the front will come through early, and then everything that you had planned goes backwards. That's not good. But yes, this went perfectly to plan. So hopefully some people out there making some money on the weather. We're here to talk some baseball, though. Also, we got TJ joining us as well, who is just a superhero in our minds and in our hearts. TJ, how are you doing, man?
Doing well, a little chilly It's 43 degrees Fahrenheit outside, and my furnace shut down the other day. I got a guy fixing it right now, but we had a power outage. A tree branch fell on a power line, and when it came back on, I had a little power surge, and it fried the circuit board. So got to get a new circuit board for my furnace now. So I got my toque on, as we here in Canada would say, and my beanie. But that's what we call it here, a toque.
A toque? Like, I've heard of toboggan. I've heard them called toboggans, I think.
Toboggans are like sleds that you go down a hill with.
Yes, but some people. Okay, I have not heard them called a toque. But hey, I'm glad you got your Rugrats hoodie and your toque, and you're ready to bring some goods. By the way, if you guys haven't done so, sign up for FanDuel Sportsbook. If you're in a legal sports betting state, new users get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. $1,000. That's pretty good. And FanDuel Sportsbook users, you take advantage of that with your first-time bet, so you don't have to play through it a bunch. My MLB Weather Edge is free today. It is a glorious tool that I spent years developing, and it's free. So you can go to MLB dropdown on rotogrinders.com, scroll down, or check my recent tweets. I just tweeted the link. So go ahead, take a look at that, because it can be a little helpful if you know what's going on with the weather. I know what's going on with the weather, but I don't know what's going on with the slate. We've got 2 games postponed, and I need some answers. I need some plays. And for that, we're going to turn to Squirrel and maybe a little breakdown for us, a little like general outlook.
Sure. So it's really a wide open slate. So it's the most wide open slate in baseball that I can remember, which is like the most wide open sport. Because I think we had a couple of games canceled already, like postponed.
Yeah.
And we had a game in Coors Field that I think was probably going to get a lot of ownership with the offenses, even though it was like 32 degrees and like a blizzard. Like they have somehow these teams still had the highest implied run totals on the slate.
It was never going to play from the beginning. So maybe odds makers were like, we're not even going to try. Like it just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, like I was envisioning like swirling winds and a blizzard. Well, they'll still probably score like 11 runs. Right. But yeah, so that game got wiped off the slate, and we really have no ace pitchers. And then the flip side of that is we have no offenses that are expected to be totally shut down. And vice versa, right? It's like we have no there's no really terrible pitchers, and so there's no offenses like you can look at and like, that team's clearly going to score like 15 runs. So yeah, everything's just wide open. A couple games got canceled. Yeah.
Okay, well that does sound fun, because it seems like you mentioned it's already baseball where literally anything can happen. And then when it's this wide open, it's like, is it just dumb to play the chalk in a situation like this? Is it just dumb?
I would say so, but it gets difficult to even know what the
chalk. Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, why don't you take us through pitchers real quick, and then we'll get TJ's thoughts on that as well. And of course, we'll talk some stacks and some bats in a bit too.
Sure. So I think probably the top pitchers are going to be like Eric Lauer, Robbie Ray, and Sean Manaea, maybe a little bit of Tariq Skubal. There's not a whole lot of separation amongst any of them. I probably like Robbie Ray the most for the strikeout upside. He's been putting together the strikeouts a little bit. I was kind of on Eric Lauer a little bit earlier in the day because he's more expensive, so I would expect him to be lower owned. But with like some of the pricier hitters being chopped off the slate, I don't know. Like I think Lauer's ownership is actually going to go up to the point where I might just be under the field on him now. Like on FanDuel, where I will usually narrow my pitching pool, even with 150 lineups down like 4 or 5 guys, it's like wide open. I think I've got like 8 pitchers out of 150 lineups. Some of the lower price guys like Chase Silsa is facing Oakland. It's only his second start in the major leagues, but he's only 6,400 on FanDuel. And he's actually a pitcher that even on the one pitcher site could carry you because Oakland has one of the worst offenses in baseball. So did actually face Oakland in his first start, but he did pretty well. And it was like his first start over AA. So I think he's a guy, I wouldn't use him in cash games, especially now that you don't necessarily need the savings. But he's a guy that definitely opens up a lot in tournaments.
Okay. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess I named the 5 guys that I think I like the most. Then like Christian Javier probably is in play. Julio Urias, he's pitching for the Dodgers and they're in Philly, and I like the offenses a little bit more, I think, than the pitching. And then Hyun-Jin Ryu is facing the Reds, who are like strike out a lot, and I don't think anyone's going to play him. So I think he's like my off the radar cheap play.
Great. Okay. Excellent. Glad I pried in a little bit deeper there. TJ, what do you think in the pitching world here?
Yeah, so a lot of the ones that Cheese mentioned already, I think I'm going to probably try and get a little, or not Cheese, sorry, Squirrel. I'm used
there
to
we go.
Good as a compliment.
Yeah, there you go. When you say there's two of the sharpest minds in DFS, it really is Cheese and Squirrel. So that's why that's always in my head. But as Squirrel said, Eric Lauer and Sean Manaea, I think, are probably going to be the chalk. I think I'll most likely try and get a little bit underweight on them. If I'm staying in a similar tier, Robbie Ray and Tariq Skubal are the two guys that I like going to. Ray is going to pick up a lot more rostership, but Tariq Skubal is somebody that isn't picking up much at all. It's a tough matchup, but he's shown a ton of strikeout upside this year. I agree with Silseth. That's my top low price play, especially on FanDuel, 6,400. John, I'm happy you reminded me earlier in the day about the tickets for that $44 contest on FanDuel, because I have a little date night after crunch time today, and I was planning on not playing today, actually. And then I opened up my FanDuel account and I had a couple tickets for that tournament. And so I'm happy you reminded me on that. Shout out to our sponsor, FanDuel, giving us this free crunch time coverage. They got a good tournament going on there, that $50,000 up top to first. Ryu, I think, is an interesting call for tournaments. I agree. Nobody's going to be playing him. This is a guy that used to be a borderline ace, and now he's just been struggling ever since his injury troubles. So if he is at the top of his game in a great matchup like Cincinnati, he has a chance to put up a really big score. But I do still think I like Silseth a little bit more than he. And we got 271 people watching. So that means it's 75 likes for a Spidey bomb. And if we hit 100, I got a different kind of bomb today that we're going to give out. The Spidey bomb is not necessarily chalk, but it's like some of our most likely to get a home run. But the sneaky one is now going to be somebody new is coming in to introduce it. So if we hit 100 likes, we got that coming.
It's going to be like an Iron Man bomb or something of the sort, I imagine. I assume.
You'll see.
We'll have to see. If you are watching, it is free. So do us a favor, hit that like, not just for us, but also for you. So you can get the whatever superhero bomb is coming up at 100 likes. Let's start talking about some of the backs. TJ, you can start us off there. Stack wise, Squirrel mentioned there doesn't appear to be anything too chalky. What do you think is the most owned? And more importantly, what do you like the most?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, New York, this is what I wrote up about today in my Agents of Fantasy article on RG, that it looked like the Yankees were really going to be the chalk. And then when that game got postponed, it just kind of went a little bit everywhere. Mm-hmm. It kind of looks to me like the Angels are going to pick up a lot now, or at least not necessarily a lot, but more than they should, just because they are the team to pay up for now if you're paying down at pitcher. Having said that, when you have Ward, Ohtani, and Trout as your top three, it's reasonable why you want to get there. Where it looks like a lot of people are going next is to Milwaukee, and I don't think Milwaukee's a bad play going up against Eric Fetty, a pitcher who doesn't strike out a lot of guys. I think that makes sense. But on a slate this big, when the ownership's going there, I don't necessarily think that's what we got to do. On the FanDuel Friday show earlier today, Squirrel and I were talking about one game in particular. We really liked stacking both sides up, and still to this point later in the day, I don't know why nobody's playing them. I think the Los Angeles Dodgers are my top stack on the board, kind of bar none, and not really many people are playing them. And so I talked about earlier really liking going to the middle and second half of that lineup, but you don't even really have to, because Mookie Betts we're projecting him for 12% rostership right now. Same with Freddie Freeman, same with Trey Turner. And if you want to go past that to the Will Smiths and Chris Taylors of the world, nobody's playing them today. So that's my favorite stack. I don't understand why more people aren't going there. And I like the other side of this game too with Philly. Anytime Philly's facing a righty, I love a lefty. I love Rhys Hoskins leading off, Nick Castellanos hitting third, and I just like the stack in general as well.
Okay, good stuff. Squirrel, let's talk some stacks.
Yeah, I think it's going to be probably Milwaukee is going to be the chalk, and maybe the Angels. But yeah, like I like that Dodgers Phillies game. I think there's like a weather thing there. I mean, I'm in the DC area, and it's our first really hot muggy day, and I'm imagining Philly's probably getting the same weather.
Very nice hitting weather. Yes.
Yeah, I like the idea of those Dodgers bats like out of Dodger Stadium and playing in like a small, hot, muggy ballpark for the first time this year. So I think it's just so wide open. I think Houston was going to be a little bit popular, but Yordan Alvarez is out of the lineup, so that really knocks them down a little bit. But Tampa Bay, maybe some Boston, and Toronto as well. Maybe the other like top stacks. But really, everything is so wide open. I think the only teams that are probably like not going to see a lot of ownership at all, probably Oakland, Washington, and Cincinnati.
Do you have interest in those teams that are going to see no ownership?
I think with 150 lineups, I'd play a handful of those teams, but like it's not like sometimes people just play the lowest owned teams, and those can actually be a little bit over-owned relative to their chances of actually winning the slate. Like I'd say those teams probably have about a 3% chance of breaking the slate each. And they're probably going to be a little bit higher than 3% of them.
Right. Because so many people say, well, nobody's going to do this. Yeah. But if enough people say that, then people are doing it.
Yeah. And really in baseball, what I always try to do is kind of target the stacks in the middle. But what happened today is that the stacks in the middle, because the other games got canceled, kind of became the top stacks.
Yeah, I get you. Okay, interesting.
And so another one that I forgot to mention too, that I'm pretty interested in, especially if you're wanting to pay up for somebody like Lauer or Manaea, and you do need to save some salary. The spot that I'm most interested in is Detroit. They're facing and not necessarily as a full stack, but there are still quite a few of these guys that I like. They're placing a reverse splits pitcher in Aaron Savali, and that's a game that Weather Edge is telling us it's looking very good for bats. The wind's blowing out, it's hot.
Yeah, mid-80s, it's humid, winds blown out at 15 miles per hour. There's a lot of good going on there in Cleveland with the weather. And
so Savali is a guy who is a fly ball pitcher. And he doesn't strike out right-handed batters. So you look at a guy like Javi Baez, who has a ton of power, but he strikes out a ton, and he's a ground ball hitter. All of a sudden, against a pitcher like Aaron Savali, he's looking very, very good, because it's a pitcher that can't keep the ball on the ground, doesn't strike out right-handed batters, and the wind is blowing out with hot weather. So Javi Baez is one of my favorite one-offs on the slate, but I do think you can get interesting with a bit of a Detroit stack as well. The last pitcher I wanted to mention, I forgot to mention before, especially on he's same price on DK, but I don't think you really need him as much on DK. A pitcher I like quite a bit on FanDuel is Jake Junis. He's not great, but it's a solid matchup. He's not picking up not that great of a matchup, but San Diego, other than Machado, is not hitting the ball very well this year. And nobody's really playing Jake Junis, and he's in the range with somebody like Christian Javier, who I think is probably going to pick up 2 or 3 times the rostership he is. So Jake Junis is somebody in tournaments I'm interested in as well.
Okay, let's go position by position here. We still have 15 minutes or so. TJ, can you lead us off with a little catcher talk?
Yeah, let's do it. So on DraftKings, if you're paying up, I think your guy is Will Smith here. And that's probably where I'd like to go, just because I do like the Dodgers so much. Having said that, if you're looking to punt, you got Mitch Garver back in the lineup, Robinson Chirinos right at the bottom, Cal Raleigh at the bottom. There's lots of punt options, and I think you're either picking somebody at 2K or you're going up to somebody like Gary Sanchez at 4,200 or Will Smith at 5K. On FanDuel, I think the only catcher I'm really interested in playing, and I do have quite a bit of interest, is Will Smith. And he's 3,200 there, so he's quite a bit cheaper, and I like him quite a bit.
Yeah. All right. Squirrel, catcher.
Let's see. I think Gary Sanchez, Will Smith. I think we just got a Padres lineup, and Luke Voigt is not in it. So that actually makes that lineup a little bit worse than I was expecting. But yeah, catcher Gary Sanchez, Will Smith, and MJ Melendez I've got as my top 3 catchers. Maybe some Sean Murphy, but he's one of those Oakland players that I don't expect that offense to do particularly well. And then Mike Zunino every once in a while gets a hold of one, so he's probably my cheapest catcher.
Okay, take us to first.
So at first, like Rhys Hoskins a lot. He's in that weather game, and it's not really a weather game, but he's playing in Philadelphia with that good hitting weather.
Mm-hmm.
Brad Miller, is leading off, it's pretty affordable. And then Vlad Guerrero, always seems to be under-owned, but he's a guy. I'm looking for guys who can hit 2 home runs and really break a slate. So Vlad's definitely fits that category.
Sure. TJ, first base.
Yeah, I love that Vlad Guerrero call, especially on FanDuel where he's only 3,700. I like that a lot. Same thing, Rhys Hoskins, Freddie Freeman, I think are both solid plays there. If you're playing a Houston stack, I like getting Yuri Gurriel in there hitting 5th. You got Alec Bohm on FanDuel, first base and third base eligibility. And I think I'd probably rather play him at 3rd, but I do like him in a Philly stack. Same with Brad Miller on FanDuel. You can get him at 1st, nice and cheap. But I do think your cash game play on FanDuel is probably $2,800 Rowdy Tellez. I think he's a great play. However, for tournaments, I think he's probably going to be our most rostered first baseman as well. So he's the cash game play. I don't think I'd want to go there in tournaments. On DraftKings, Tellez is a bit more expensive. He's 4,700. People are still going to be going there or up to Shohei Ohtani at 1st. I think those are both fine plays. Same with Vlad. But I do have a lot of interest in Rhys Hoskins, $100 more than Rowdy Tellez. He's not getting played much at all. And so that's something I like quite a bit. If you need to save salary on DraftKings, I think your 2 options are kind of Ty France or Seth Brown. However, I don't mind the idea of a little old man Miguel Cabrera in a Detroit stack as well.
Okay, second base, TJ.
Yeah, so second base, I'm going to stick with DraftKings. That's a tab I have open right now. If you're wanting to pay up $5,400, Jose Altuve, very strong play, and I think that's most likely where you're going in cash games. If you do want to punt, there's a $2,000 Luis Rengifo option, Rengifo, however you say his name. But it's not a very nice position today on DraftKings. And so that's probably one of the reasons I think a lot of people are just going to go to Jose Altuve. For tournaments, I think you have Trevor Story, 4,400 is interesting. Matt Reynolds leading off for Cincinnati is 2,900. You could go there, but it's a gross position. So in DK, I think you're probably just paying up for Jose Altuve. On FanDuel, Altuve is probably your top play there as well. But if in tournaments, if you want to be looking to get a little different, you still have Reynolds as a punt, same as DK. Luis Arias against Eric Fetty batting 2nd. And I mean, we're over 75 likes, so it's time to give it. The Spidey bomb is Javi Baez today. Javi Baez is going to hit a home run against Aaron Savali, and you can play him at 2nd. You can play him at short. So that is the Spidey bomb today. If you do want the brand new one, we're only 22 likes away. So get up to that. Last guy I'm interested in a second would be Kike Hernandez, righty against lefty Robbie Ray.
Okay. I want the next one just to see what character comes out of the woodwork from your ridiculous collection back there. So please.
It's not Marvel.
Minutes.
It's not Marvel.
Okay, that is unexpected. All right. He's going to pick up his dog. Squirrel, second base. What do you got?
So let's see. Yeah, second base. I think Jose Altuve is the clear top overall play. Trey Turner on FanDuel. He's not going to be second base eligible on DraftKings, but on FanDuel, I like Trey Turner. And then Marcus Semien, like he's been disappointing the whole year, but he's just starting to heat up last 3-4 games. So he's somebody that fits in pretty well on DraftKings. And he's 4,000 on DraftKings, 2,500 on FanDuel. So he's probably my salary saver.
Okay.
Then going to third base.
Sure.
Manny Machado, he's in the lineup, which is good. Just got confirmed. Jose Ramirez, I really like him because I think a lot of people are going to be playing Tariq Skubal. And so Ramirez has a good shot at, doing well against him. And I think he'll be under-owned relative to what he should be. And then a couple of Royals on FanDuel, Bobby Witt Jr. and Hunter Dozier are third base eligible. And then San Francisco. So Evan Longoria, I think, is in play as well. And he's one of the San Francisco Giants, always going to be under-owned because their lineup just comes out late.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a guy that can get a hold of it and break a slate, and he's going to be under-owned just because he's not showing up in the lineup when people are at lock setting their lineups.
Okay, that makes sense. TJ, third base for you?
Yeah, so third base to me is a position where it's got some high opportunity cost, and you're definitely not wanting to just drop somebody in your lineup who is kind of okay and at the bottom of a stack who you're not expecting much of. On FanDuel, you got Taylor Ward up top, Jose Ramirez, Manny Machado, Alex Bregman's probably your cash game option. But there's just so many phenomenal hitters at that position, whether it be you want to go down lower for someone like Luis Arias or Alec Bohm in your stack. You're looking for high upside options at third base today. On DraftKings, it's a lot of the same thing. I think I've really liked getting up to Jose Ramirez there, 5,400. Alex Bregman doesn't quite have as much of a noticeable discount there at 48. So I think if I could, I'd rather just go up to Jose Ramirez. But other than that, it's just a lot of the same guys I mentioned on FanDuel. Other than a 3,100 Brad Miller is pretty interesting there as well.
Okay, shortstop, TJ.
Shortstop, so you can roll with Javi Baez, like I mentioned, at second place. He's 4,500 on DraftKings, or you can play him at the nice cheap $2,700 on FanDuel. You can play him at short as well. The other player I'd probably be looking at from a cash game optimal lineup standpoint, I think, would be Corey Seager. Carlos Correa is fine. Wander Franco, actually, I take Seager back. I'd pick Wander Franco over Corey Seager. But this is a much better position than second base. So the players like Trevor Story, Luis Arias, and Javi Baez, the options I have to play them at second, I would rather do it there, because at shortstop, you got the Correas, the Francos, the Bichettes, the Seagers, Trey Turner. You have a lot of nice options there.
All right. Squirrel?
See, so shortstop, Trey Turner, like that Dodgers Phillies game. A couple of Rangers, Corey Seager and Marcus Semien. Trevor Story, who's also second base eligible on FanDuel. Bobby Witt Jr., who's also third base eligible, I believe, on FanDuel. And then so we haven't talked about Minnesota a lot, but Carlos Correa and Jorge Polanco, both shortstop eligible on FanDuel.
Okay, you get to take us to the outfield. What do you like?
So outfield is probably the most loaded position on the slate, but like Mike Trout, I mean, he's going to be a little bit higher owned today just because I think the Angels will be a little bit higher owned, but like he's always under owned. He's the best hitter in baseball. And like, yeah, he just is not played enough because people like to stack and then they don't necessarily like to stack with the Angels. And then, you can always pair him with Shohei Ohtani in the outfield. Byron Buxton, I think, going to be under-owned. I think Minnesota's, but now that I'm looking at it, it's probably going to be a little bit under-owned relative to what they can do. Kyle Tucker is hitting cleanup for Houston. So Jordan's out of the lineup, but Kyle Tucker is still in there. And then maybe some Christian Yelich and also Robbie Grossman leading off for Detroit.
All right. TJ, favorite plays in the outfield?
Yeah, a lot of the same ones. It's a absolutely loaded position. If you are one-offing or just looking for top plays, you got Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, Byron Buxton, Mookie Betts, George Springer, Christian Yelich, just all Kyle Tucker, all phenomenal plays in the outfield. If you're needing to punt on DK, which I'd rather pay up, you got Kyle Garlick batting third for Minnesota. He might have some pinch hit risk, but he also has some power there. And then you got Brad Miller leading off, Franmil Reyes in that good weather game batting fifth, nice and cheap as well. But this is really a position where you're keeping in your stacks or you're sticking with these top tier players like Buxton, Ohtani, Trout, etc. If you're wanting a high upside, low owned Angel, we're going to get 20+% ownership from Trout and Ohtani today. Taylor Ward is just absolutely smashing the ball and is going to get is going to be played a fraction of the amount of time as the other two. So that's somebody that's interesting. But it's really, I love my Dodgers. I like my Phillies. I like my Blue Jays. I like the expensive Angels. And I also like Byron Buxton and Christian Yelich.
Okay. How many likes do we have, TJ?
We have 85. So we are 15 away from the brand new type of bomb. And we got Steve, our producer, in the chat trying to make some guesses, and he's got some good ones. Some good ones. I'll say that.
Let's get the likes in. Guys, my favorite question that we've been doing here routinely is you're playing one stack and you're trying to win it. Squirrel, what is your stack?
Go with the Dodgers.
TJ?
Me too. Dodgers.
Ooh, very nice. Okay, guys, let's get to some QQs. We've got 5 minutes until lock. Starting with aside. TJ, FanDuel single entry. This is a 3v3 coming your way. Yelich, Altuve, Bregman, or Trout and the Turner brothers, Trey and Ginger Turner.
Second one, Trout and the Turner brothers.
NBA DFS, Squirrel FanDuel cash question for you. Vladdy and Bregman, or J-Ram and Seager? That's C. Seager, if there might be multiple Seagers.
I think I like the first one. Forget what it was.
Okay, it was Vlad and Bregman.
Yeah, Vlad and Bregman, yeah.
Okay, great. Falcor, FanDuel, high dollar single entry. TJ, am I playing Silseth and pitcher stack? Play Silseth at pitcher and stack 4 Blue Jays and 3 Dodgers with Wander Franco in the util. He's basically asking the whole lineup. Is that okay?
I do like that a lot. That is I'm playing only 2 lineups today, and that's a variation of something I've looked similar at. I didn't land on it. So hopefully we can both finish first and second or something and not dupe each other. But yeah, I do like that quite a bit.
Great. All right. DKGPP Squirrel. For the Tiger stack, would you prefer Torkelson or Miggy?
Or I think Beatty. I do. I'm sorry, neither of those guys is on my radar.
Oh, okay. Is there?
Okay, yeah, Torkelson's hitting 6th, and what was the other one?
Miggy.
Oh, yeah, no, go with Miggy. Yeah, go with Cabrera.
Okay, all right. Amateur Hour, your favorite second baseman on a DKGPP for 4,200 or less. TJ, 4,200 less, second base in a DKGPP. Says, by the way, I'm playing Miller and Seager. Does that mean I just have to swallow and lock in Simeon as well?
Yeah.
It does. Okay.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. DKGPP Squirrel, if you've got 2 stacks with equal upside, would you go with the team against the chalk pitcher for leverage or the often ignored late team stack? Oh, these are both good things here.
Ooh, so I'm thinking maybe he's thinking like maybe like Boston or San Francisco. I'd maybe try go with the late team.
The more I hear it, the more I love the idea of the late stack. Because you're right, when you're making those lineups and it doesn't show this player is starting, it's hard to say, yes, I want to put that guy in. Yeah, I like it. Just like you said, they always come in underowned. They're good. There's good bats out there. Raymond
4
FanDuel
likes
GPP.
away from the new one. 4
only
likes
4?
away.
Let's
Only
get the
4.
likes. 4 likes. That's just you. I'm looking at you. Hit that like button. Raymond FanDuel GPP, last man in. TJ, Otani, Trey Turner, or J-Ram?
Otani.
Dan Jan, single entry on DK. Would you rather jam in a Dodger stack simply because it's the Dodgers, or Tiger stack in great weather surrounded by better pitchers?
I'd do the Dodgers stack because they're also in great weather.
Okay. All right. We've got less than a minute left. TJ, we're going to say it's 100. I imagine by the time you start telling us it will be 100. Let's get the new bomb from...
It's wild because shout out producer Steve in the chat. He got it with his second guess after I said it wasn't Marvel. The Goku Spirit Bomb. So shout out to our Dragon Ball Z fans and Goku. It's his go-to move after the Kamehameha. It's the Spirit Bomb. So the Goku Spirit Bomb tonight is going to be Byron Buxton. He's getting us oh, wow. Never mind. I just saw his updated ownership on FanDuel and it's crazy higher. So we're going to give you somebody lower than
we need Super Saiyan Goku for this pick.
Yeah. He was 12% last I looked, and now he's up to 25. So we're gonna switch that one up a little bit. And so the brand new one for today's slate, and the one I was actually originally going to go with anyways, is Rhys Hoskins for the Phillies. Nobody is playing this dude. He's been absolutely on fire lately. He smashes left-handed pitching, and this is a game I just really like being all over, both the Dodgers and the Phillies. So Rhys Hoskins is your very first Goku Spirit Bomb today.
It's great because Spirit Bomb is his actual move, and Bomb is it's very good. I like the Goku Spirit Bomb even more than the Spidey Bomb. Like, that's good stuff. Also DBZ fan right here. So I approve of that. Let's see. J Sam says, hey, Roth, I'm looking at Weather Edge. It has some red in the home run column. Should we just ignore that and look at the temperature in cases like these? I don't know what game he's talking about. So I don't know what game you're talking about. Let me know what game. DUI says DKGPP, Would you go back to the well and tell the same old story, Squirrel, based on Story's performance last night?
Yeah, I think he's definitely in place. One of the top, so as a second baseman. So, yeah.
Okay. I really want to cosplay. I've never done cosplay before, but if I do, I want to go as Goku because it just, I don't know, that seems to be the thing, right?
It would be fun. I did my very first cosplaying actually at a convention this summer that I had a press pass for. And so I did some Green Arrow and some Thor. It was pretty fun, but I am actually, the video game I'm playing right now is a Dragon Ball Z one. I'm making my way through Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. It carries you basically all the way through the story from when, what's his face, his brother there, the very first Dragon Ball Z story all the way through to the Boo saga at the end. So it's some fun stuff.
Okay. I mean, maybe.
Raditz, thank you, Raditz. I just beat him like 3 days ago, and I had a little brain fart on Raditz.
DBZ knowledge getting dropped here. I approve, guys. As if we didn't already lock up how big of nerds we were by discussing daily fantasy sports for this long. All right, Dan Jan, DK single entry Squirrel. You want Story or Whitfield?
Did one of those games lock already? No, I guess. Yeah, we got 4 minutes. I'd probably go Merrifield.
Okay. All right. Trunks, you like DY? Trunks, do you
Somebody's
prefer?
name is Trunks?
No, I'm asking you. I'm calling you Trunks. You like Belt or Yaz in the lefty-lefty matchup versus Manea? Belt or Yaz?
If I'm picking one, I'd go Belt.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, Gohan. Gregorius says cosplay is super creepy. It's not creepy. Just go have fun.
All it is dressing up as a character.
Right. Just go have fun. It's not creepy. All right.
We got 6.3% in the FanDuel 44 for Reese Hoskins today.
That is a Goku spirit bomb if I've ever heard one, man. With that, gentlemen, we've answered all the questions and we've given all the advice. Questions kind of slowed down. So with that, I think it's time to get on out of here. So for my guy Squirrel and for Goten, is that a guy? I just had to make up the name.
There you go.
For Goten, and of course for our wonderful production crew.
For your Jose Altuve FanDuel Mangoes.
Your Jose Altuve FanDuel Mango Show Crunch Time. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.